Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. It is a victory Monday for the Kansas City Chiefs. 31-17 winners over the Vegas Raiders. Also victory Monday for KU football, Mizzou football, K-State. Not able to pull out the victory against Iowa State in what was a pretty memorable game from the weather and a fun one to probably play in. And, the result not the best for K-State, obviously. But a fun one to watch, maybe not be there, but a fun one to watch, certainly, to sit back and enjoy the elements and how aesthetically pleasing it was to see those two teams on the field and how many big plays. I mean, it was an entertaining game, too. So still an 8-win season for K-State, not what they were hoping it would be, but a pretty decent follow-up to winning a Big 12 and then bouncing back and having an 8-win season when there were certainly opportunities to have 10 wins, 11 wins, right there. So it's not like this was a huge fallback and like, okay, last year was just some sort of an aberration, some sort of an outlier. That is not the case. So still some things to take away from K-State's season this year, and now we play the waiting game to see where these teams will go in the bowl game. So that is the weekend that was. News in the NFL, Frank Reich has been fired by the Carolina Panthers. I don't remember the game a few weeks ago where we said that he felt like he was just on the sideline. It was like they called a timeout. Oh, well, they butchered the end of the game, and then they went for it on fourth down, and they didn't get it, and he was just standing there just chewing the gum. And I said, boy, he looks like a guy who was just waiting to live the fired coach life and get that buyout. Just waiting for this to end. He looks miserable. He's already talked about the owner that has been maybe too much a part of some decisions or trying to be a part of some decisions that are there. And the meetings with the owner, who most people would say is probably meddling and getting too much involved.
Was it Panthers-Bears, that primetime Thursday night?
It was a primetime game, that's right, Panthers-Bears, and just butchered the end of the game and just sitting there, just chewing gum, not upset, just staring. Oh, lost the game. All right. How many weeks ago was that, 2? Only a couple weeks ago? A couple Thursdays ago, and he's out? He was just waiting. So another coach bites the dust. We see it in college football. We see it already in the NFL. Josh McDaniels being let go a couple of weeks ago, and the Raiders playing much better football under Antonio Pierce, and for the first quarter against the Chiefs yesterday. And boy, there was some dire straits going on. There were some concerns. My son's sitting next to me, and he goes, I got a bad feeling about this game. I said, you're not the only one, bud. I'm still going to see what happens over the next couple of possessions, but they're down 14-0. Very easily should have been 17-0. Could have been 21-0 if Antonio Pierce didn't go, 4th and 1, we're up 7-0. Let's just take 3 here. And that's part of just taking 3 is because it's never as easy as just press the button and you get 3 points. The guy still has to go out there and kick it. And that's not somebody you would expect to miss. What did he make, like 44, 45 straight kicks from that distance or something? And then he misses that one. And the Chiefs still don't capitalize and get a drive going. They still punt on the next possession, then give up the 63-yard touchdown to Josh Jacobs. So it had been, for the Chiefs, 2 possessions, 2 punts, in which they gained a total of 13 yards. And the Raiders had 2 touchdowns and a missed field goal, where they got to the 12-yard line of the Chiefs and picked up over, 200 yards. 9 plays, 75. 14 plays, 69. Nice. 2 plays, 77 yards. And that 63-yard touchdown for Josh Jacobs. It was looking rough building off of how the Chiefs ended against the Eagles and the talk about the offense not scoring in the second half. I almost tweeted it out, but I decided not to. At the end of the first quarter, I almost tweeted out, the Chiefs were clearly tired of people talking about their inability to score in the second half. It's not just the second half, everybody. No. Don't just focus on the second half. This is just an issue all around with this team right now. Until it wasn't. Until they turned it on and got rolling and had, I believe, the first time this year, 3 straight touchdown drives of at least 70 yards. 12 plays, 71 touchdown. 8 plays, 79 touchdown. Start of the second half, 10 plays, 75 touchdown. It's not something I would have expected in this game to say they would have 3 straight drives like that when they hadn't done it this season. They needed to play a clean game once the game started the way that it did. If they would have had a game that was riddled with penalties, drops, and turnovers, they would have lost that game. But it wasn't a game that was riddled with those things. They had 1 drop pass, Rashee Rice, and he was dynamite in the game. We'll get into a lot of talk about Rashee Rice and what he can do for this offense and maybe what he did for this offense. They only had 3 penalties on offense. There was the penalty with Justin Watson that, 15-yard at the assessed on the kickoff. But there was the hold by Creed, the hold by Juwan Taylor, and a false start by Juwan Taylor. Those were the 3 penalties for the Chiefs in the game. At all. No defensive penalties at all. No turnovers, 1 drop. If you say the Chiefs, 4 combined 4 turnovers, penalties, and drop passes. Well, 1, I guess, saying that off the top of my head, you'd want to know what the breakdown. Don't worry, there were no penalties and no drop passes, but they turned the ball over 4 times. Okay, so what if I told you 0 turnovers and a combined 4 penalties and drop passes? You'd feel pretty good about that and what the Chiefs were able to do. Just the second game all season where they've had no turnovers. And they have played 11 games. And that's just the 3rd time they've got to 30 points this year. But it's a feel-good coming out of that game because it's the way they ended. It's the most recent what we've seen from this offense compared to Tuesday having a conversation about how bad this offense was and the wide receivers. Was it a fatal flaw? There's no reason for Justin Watson to get 11 targets in a game. There is 0 reason for Justin Watson to get 11 targets in the game unless everybody else is injured and they have gone to the field like Texas A&M and gone to the stands and pulled out a 12th man and grabbed some random fan out of the stands and said, we need you to go play wide receiver. Then maybe Justin Watson gets 11 targets. I can understand that. But in a world where there were healthy players all over the field for the Chiefs, and I know that McCole and Kadarius out of the game, but healthy players as in Rashee Rice, even Sky Moore, MVS, Travis Kelce is out there. Like, there's no reason for Justin Watson to get 11 targets. And again, I'm talking about last week when those guys all played, even the ones that are injured. IR from Cole Hardman, out for Kadarius Toney. And in this game, the start, and by the way, open phone lines, 913-381-0810. First couple of hours wide open. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. Learn Funniest Best with Mick Schaefer. We'll hear from Andy Reid. Press conference today after Field Yates. So 913-381-0810 is the phone number to join us. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us. So we'll take your phone calls the first couple of hours. Your thoughts on the game, 8-3. Still the number 2 seed. The Ravens have a bye week, right? This week? Ravens have the bye, or they have one more and then the bye? I have no idea. They've got such a late bye this year, do the Ravens. But they're sitting 9-3 right now. They get the bye right now. So if the Chiefs win against the Packers, they move back up to the number 1 seed by virtue of tiebreaker with losses against the NFC as opposed to losses for the Ravens against the AFC. And the Chargers did the charging thing last night and couldn't find a way to knock off the Ravens. I picked the Chargers to win in that game, and that was clearly smart to do. But 913-381-0810, your thoughts on this Chiefs team sitting 8-3. But down 14-0. when again, could have been 17, could have been 21-0. And the Chiefs had gained a total of 13 yards. I was taking notes, and as the game's going along, my observation of the first two drives, before the Kelsey 12-yard pass, on second down and 10, on their third drive, second and 10 on the third drive, down 14-0. What it seemed like to that point was, and I know that the scripts and the first 15, and a lot of the times it looks pretty good. Against Miami, it looked brilliant. Eagles, they punted. The first two drives against the Raiders were pretty yuck. But it felt like there were some gimmicky things. And I guess I understand it from the standpoint of, hey, you got to get something going, get some rhythm on offense. First play of the game, screen pass. Lost 11 yards. Second play of the game, they roll the pocket. Incomplete. Third play of the game on 3rd and 21, or third play for the Chiefs. On 3rd and 21, they do the underneath throw, and they've got the guys go out and block for them, and they run the little drag route. That was to Sky Moore, picked up 11 yards or whatever, and then they punt. Second drive, swing pass to Pacheco. Take the snap, boom, dump off to Pacheco. Then they actually just run a run play. Then it's the quick throw down the line of scrimmage to Rashee Rice. It was an RPO with Sky Moore out there to block, and it was 1 yard gain. It was a great tackle by the Raiders, but also it was immediate to where Sky Moore is blocking. So it was the defenders can see that Sky Moore comes up to put his hands on, the cornerback, and they immediately react and come, run downhill and get to Rashee Rice. And then there was the deep drop where, Vegas showed 7, brought 5, dropped 2, and Mahomes just threw it deep to Justin Watson, wasn't there, and they punt it. But it felt like the start of the game was a lot of gimmicky. Screen pass, quick throw down the line of scrimmage, swing pass, roll the pocket, underneath drag route with guys out blocking. Didn't feel like there was hey, let's take a 5-step drop and try to attack the defense in certain ways. Let's get Kelsey open in certain ways. It seemed like gimmicky, let's scheme guys open, which again, I understand if there are issues, if there are some struggles going on, but it didn't feel like there was any faith as in the offense can simply just get it done by going out there and playing football. And they started the third drive the same way. The quick throw to Rashee Rice down the line of scrimmage, which was incomplete, that was a design screen. The offensive line was coming out to block for Rashee Rice. Again, design screen. Not to where it's hey, first down, second down, drop back. The only second down throw that they had was the roll the pocket to the right. You're still limiting what you're going to do. And that was then they threw back to He got pressured through to Kelsey. He and Kelsey were on the wrong page, floats over his head. And it's wow, okay, this is really, really rough. And then on second down and 10, they drop back. Kelsey runs a simple route, catches the ball, 7 yards down the field, turns up, picks up 5 more yards. First down. Hand off to Pacheco. What we saw them running against the Eagles where he had the cutback, boom, 4 yards. Mahomes, a little bit of pressure, scramble, 7 yards. Finds Noah Gray over the middle, 12 yards. Then the Sky Moore RPO quick throw down the line of scrimmage. This to me was different than the quick throw down the line of scrimmage to Rashee Rice when he was tackled for a 1 yard gain. Not the one where it was a bad pass. Because it was an RPO, but Rashee Rice ran a route. He didn't just go up and start blocking. And Marcus Peters was 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. So by Rashee Rice running a route, Marcus Peters then played it straight up. So the throw down the line of scrimmage leaves Sky Moore with one-on-one and open space with Marcus Peters, who doesn't like to tackle. That is different than you've got 2 guys out there, 1 guy is blocking. The defense reads it immediately. They're already running up. Marcus Peters is backpedaling. Then he's running up to get Sky Moore in space. Not where it's limited because you got a blocker to your left and you got a guy to your right, and now you got to try to find a way to maneuver traffic where there are 3 guys there. It was only 1. Then there was an incomplete pass. That was Mahomes throwing it away. There was pressure up the middle. He scrambled for 2 yards on second down and 10. Again, pressure up the middle. And then Rashee Rice, drag underneath, 10 yards on 3rd and 8. Man-to-man, beats his man one-on-one, gives him the ball. He's 4 yards short of a first down when he catches it and picks up, another 2, 3, 4 yards past the first down marker. Then they run a power run with Clyde Edwards-Helaire down to the 1-yard line, and then back-to-back handoffs, and they score a touchdown. After the quick throw down the line of scrimmage to Rashee Rice with the designed screen and blockers coming out there, it seemed like they just simply went, let's run offense. Let's maybe stop with some of the gimmicks and the screens and the swing passes and the roll the pockets and all of that stuff. Just simply attack the defense. That seems simplistic, and there are probably much brighter football minds out there that are going, no, here's what they were doing, here's what they were. But I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, man, here's another this is a one-read play. That Kelsey throw was drop back, 5-step drop, hitch, boom, Kelsey's there. Let him turn, and they were just trying to pick up a few yards to set up an easier 3rd down. But that was part of the theme of the 3rd drive on, was what if we simply, in the flow of the offense, got it to some playmakers and let him make a play. Mahomes can find the guy, let him make a play. Because the 39-yard touchdown for Rashee Rice, that was a 4-yard pass that Rashee Rice turned into a 39-yard touchdown. The Sky Moore, 18 yards. He caught it 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. And in open space, to me, it's different than the other throws to Rashee Rice that were attempted down the line of scrimmage. Rashee Rice later in the game, when they went back to that look, he caught the ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and ended up picking up a 9-yard gain. Got 11 yards after contact when it looked like they played it pretty well because he was in space and getting a little momentum, running forward. It just felt like, I don't know if there was a change or not. But I want to play this clip from Patrick Mahomes. And it was about that 3rd possession. On that throw to Travis Kelce for 12 yards. On 2nd down and 10, that felt like it just changed a lot. Maybe it was all right, let's go play. Let's go play. Now let's get the ball to Pacheco. Let's put the ball in different guys' hands. Here's a throw to Noah Gray. Now we can run an RPO. You've got a great look on the outside because Rashee Rice is actually running a route. Here's Patrick Mahomes on that 3rd possession and getting the offense in rhythm, especially that 2nd down and 10, 12-yard pass to Travis Kelce.
I think the short pass I threw to Travis on 2nd down was huge because that was a play that we were just trying to make it a 3rd and short. They had a good coverage. I got to Travis. He got upfield and got that first down on 2nd and 10 after I missed Rashee on just a little screen pass. And I think that kind of just jump-started us. And that's what I'm saying. When you get those opportunities to get him the football, it's not even that that was an 11-yard play, 10-yard play, whatever it was, but it jump-started the whole entire offense. And so he's going to make an impact on the game, even if he's getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, whatever it is. It's my job to find ways to get him the football.
Play with Travis, where it seemed like the backer turned his back, or just a split. He still got it. I'm just wondering who takes.
Yeah, no, he did a good job of getting the backer's blind spot. He's always been really good at that. And then he kind of gets the guy where he kind of has to really go at it to try to get back into the right position. And I actually think I threw the ball just a little too short, and Travis did a good job of making me look good with the late hands. And so that's just that type of chemistry that we've built. And, I mean, whenever he gets in those positions where he has one-on-one, you try to give him opportunities, and he makes good stuff happen.
Mahomes talking about it, too. That 2nd down and 10 pass to Travis Kelce. Just kind of got things rolling. All right, let's get in some rhythm. No turnovers and only 3 penalties on the day, and those were 3 penalties on the offense that Justin Watson, I talked about that earlier. Those were later on in the game. Once they got in a rhythm, there weren't the negative plays that were hurting this team and killing this team and keeping them from, driving and having some of those longer extended drives. They weren't picking up huge plays where it was deep passes down the line, down the field, 25, 30 yards down the field. There were a lot of underneath, put the ball in guys' hands that can make plays. And one of those guys is Rashee Rice. Let's bring in Rodney. 913-381-0810. The phone lines are open. Your thoughts on the Chiefs' victory, 31-17. Winners over the Raiders, moving to 8-3. Rodney gets us started here on this Monday. Go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
What's going on, Jason? I know it's been a while since we last talked, but I've been sitting back and watching and collecting my data and just watching what's going on. And Patrick Mahomes is telling everyone what's going on. He said it clear as day. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play a clip later where he said in his press conference is, I guess someone asked him about the back shoulder throw that he threw to Rashee Rice. He said, man, we've been trying to get him to go downfield. He said, I know he can do the short intermediate route, but we trying to get him to go downfield. He's better going down the field. And I really feel like when people watch Mahomes now, he's right now in the threshold of, okay, I'm going to listen to Matt Nagy, do what he say, be a good guy and be mindful to – now I'm about to be Tom Brady and tell Matt Nagy I'm taking this offense over. You said it yourself. It got simple. The gimmicky stuff he said is, come on now. Well, I'm wasting his talent just sitting here throwing these little bubble screens. And Rashee Rice used to go downfield. And he is a threat going downfield. And Mahomes is pushing it. And also he sat there and said in his press conference, I'm pretty sure y'all going to get to it. Someone asked him about, okay, has Rashee Rice ever come to him about him wanting the ball? He giggled and said, yeah, he told me, because he wants to, and of course he said, he wants to get better. No, he told him, give me the ball. There's short intermediate stuff. Come on, man. I came out of college with the whole media and everyone all around NFL, all these football experts compared me to DeAndre Hopkins. So why am I getting the DeAndre Hopkins treatment? And Mahomes sees that. And he wants to treat Rashee Rice as if he is DeAndre Hopkins 2.0 because he knows he is dangerous that way. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Rodney, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. I do want to talk about Rashee Rice. I want to talk a lot about Rashee Rice. I took all of the clips that Mahomes was asked about Rashee Rice in the press conference. They were scattered throughout the press conference, but I put them together into one longer Q&A with Mahomes and the media. And I want to play that on the other side of the break. And I do want to talk about what could be, what has been hopeful throughout the season that could be a difference for this team in Rashee Rice if they would get him the ball, whether it's down the field on the back shoulder throw, which was a great catch, concentration, feet down, whether it was get him the ball underneath in one-on-one and have him go up against a defensive back who's trying to make a tackle. It's not going to happen very often. Intermediate stuff, or even when Mahomes scrambled and Rashee Rice then found the open space, which, by the way, Seth Kaiser pointed this out and talked about it. I noted it when it happened. Rashee Rice ran to the exact same spot that Kelsey was running to. So Rashee Rice read as Mahomes was scrambling to his left. Rashee Rice read the opening and the space the same way that Kelsey did, which maybe that's simplistic, and it was like, I'm just going to run to my right and run, the way that Mahomes is running. But that space opened up when, I believe it was Spillane, who was on Rashee Rice in that zone area, then left that responsibility to go get Patrick Mahomes. And Rashee Rice is there. Mahomes found him, and the Chiefs moved the chains and continued rolling. I want to talk about Rashee Rice a little bit more of what we saw from him and what the potential can be for Rashee Rice and this offense, and the difference between the Eagles game and the Raiders game, besides just, difference in talent and difference in teams and defense and things like that. We'll do that on the start of the break. 913-381-0810. Phone line's open. We'll get to some text line as well. 913-912-4810. Field Yates at noon. Andy Reid after that. Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock. More Zone next. 913-381-0810. Phone lines open until noon. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon from ESPN. Our NFL insider, Frank Reich, relieved of his duties today, fired by the Carolina Panthers 11 games into his tenure as the Panthers head coach. We'll talk with Field Yates about the Chiefs, the AFC, and maybe some other moves like that. 913-381-0810, 913-912-4810, the text line. By the way, we do the predictions every week at Sports Radio 810's social media account that Steven, Nate, and I, we do whatever the different bets are. This week, we just went with anytime touchdown. And Steven picked Isaiah Pacheco for an anytime touchdown. Nate Bucati chose Justin Watson for an anytime touchdown. And I went Rashee Rice for an anytime touchdown. We killed it. We killed it. You could not go wrong with those three, except for, find the best odds out of those three. Yeah, we finally got one right. Yeah. That's right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, it's needed. 913-381-0810. Couple of texts coming in as well. This text says, maybe the Chiefs defense should let the other team score about 10 points just to get the offense going. If that's what it takes, Chiefs defense has done such a great job to let the game flow of the offense take a bigger lead and control the game, and they haven't done that. So this one where they're down 14-0 and the offense is just like, let's go. I mean, imagine if the Raiders would not have scored in the first half. What would the score have been? 3-0? But as the texter said, down 14-0, the offense was like, all right, well, let's go. We got to go score some points. Mahomes is down 10 points, right? He's 15-11 when trailing by double digits in his career. The only quarterback with, I don't know what the minimum games, but there's a certain minimum games of quarterbacks that are played that he's above 500. He's 15-11. Everybody else is below 500 when you're trailing by 10 points. 913-912-4810. Tex says, honestly, they look better with their core players instead of all the gadget plays for the extra receivers. That was one of my takeaways in the receiving group was limited. There weren't 15 different guys out there running routes. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. This is a longer clip. It's about 3 minutes. I took all of the Rashee Rice questions in the Patrick Mahomes press conference and combined it to one clip. So it's a longer Q&A with Patrick Mahomes and the media that's there. Here is Patrick Mahomes weighing in on Rashee Rice's performance and overall ability.
I've said it all year. He has the talent. And he works hard. We're giving him more and more as the season goes on. And kind of the flow of the games, we've put him in more of a bigger role these last few weeks, but the flow of the game hasn't dictated him getting the football. But you saw today some of those coverages where they were doubling Trav, or putting a lot of attention on Trav. He was able to make some stuff happen, and I like on that shallow cross. And so he's a guy who wants it. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. He has the talent. He wants to be great, but it's going to take us just staying on top of it every single week. And he's going to be a great receiver in this league.
What stands out to you the most? Obviously, he's got the burst after the catch.
Yeah, I think we've only scratched the surface, honestly. I think you see us hitting them kind of around the line of scrimmage, but I think you saw the one down the sideline. I think he can do some of the vertical threat stuff, and he has speed and he has burst. I mean, you can see when he has the football in his hand. So let's start working him in and getting him more opportunities. It's hard when defenses play us like this. I mean, we've put some kind of deep crosses and stuff in where defenses are settling back and I can go underneath. But I think he has a chance to be a great receiver in this league, and we're going to continue to push him to be that receiver every single week.
Patrick, you talked about how Rice is a guy who wants it. What leads you to say that? How have you seen that?
I mean, he'll tell you. I mean, he'll tell you. And for young dudes to do that, I mean, that speaks to the type of player that he is. I mean, he just wants to win. He wants to go out there and he wants to win. And when I say that, he doesn't do it in a bad way. He just will say, hey, like, I'm going to be there. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do to get myself open. And if you give me the chance that it comes to you, then I'm going to make something happen with it. And so that's the type of guys you want. And I think we have a lot of guys like that on the team. And obviously we've had a few games where we haven't played at our level, but we're going to continue to work at it and keep winning football games and try to be our best at the end of the season.
When did you start doing that kind of stuff? I mean, back in camp or days? Or
I think it was kind of at the end of training camp, kind of OT, kind of when you got to where he got comfortable within the offense. I mean, that's the biggest thing is it's a complex offense. It's hard for young guys to do it, and so we kind of limit their roles. And as the season goes on, we expand them more and more. And I think he's done a great job with it. I mean, there's little things here and there that we have to continue to work on, but for the most part, he learns from his mistakes and gets better every single week.
With you saying that you wanted to get more attempts for Rasheed downfield, how, I guess, gratifying is it to have that deep shot there to start the drive late in the game? And is that just another sign of trust, sort of chemistry with you guys?
We've been designing plays to get him down the field. It's just with the coverages that we've been getting and kind of how we've gotten the last few years. People have dropped and I've thrown it underneath. But I do think he can take that step. He has the ability, and you saw it on that play. That was tight coverage. He made a big time catch, physical catch, stayed in bounds and stuff like that. And so it's not just go routes. I think he can get across the field. Obviously, y'all see the burst with the football, but he has the speed to win downfield. And so we'll continue to expand his role. He's done a great job with it so far in a complex offense, but I think as the season goes, he'll continue to have a bigger one.
A few things there. Patrick Mahomes talking about Rashee Rice. Quote, he wants it. He wants the ball, wants to be great. And then about wanting to get the ball, he'll tell you. He'll tell you that he wants the ball, but not in a, give me the damn ball. Why are you not throwing it my way? He said more of a, hey, look, I'm going to be there. All right, on this play, I'm going to be there. So if it comes to it, give me a chance, and I'll go and make a play. And for the most part, he has. He had some drops early in the season. He obviously had a drop yesterday, and it's not great, the drop yesterday, but I understand at that point, getting ready to run down the field, he had run a great route to where it was a stop and a comeback and sort of a back shoulder, and it was going to be a first down and keep the drive moving. It didn't end up being that, and the Chiefs ended up punting on that drive. It was a quick 3-and-out. I believe that was just a 3-and-out with that one. And, yeah, that's one that he would like to have back. But as much as we talk about, like, the drop passes, in the last 7 games for Rashee Rice, he's been targeted 37 times, and he has 31 receptions. That's an 84% catch rate. 84% catch rate. That's not somebody that has issues catching the football. That's somebody that is getting open and getting the ball and catching it, or making contested catches like he did on that 19-yard gain, 1st and 10 at their own 7. And he's also picking up the yards after catch. I mean, 37 targets, 31 receptions. That's over 7 games. Sounds to me like he needs more, because 10 of those came yesterday. And I know Mahomes said like they've got some plays that they put in that they're trying to get the ball down the field. And maybe it was a defense, a coverage that they were running, and so Mahomes had to go underneath. But, I don't know if that 3rd down play in the red zone where he picked up the first down was a specific play to Rashee Rice, the short drag over the middle. I don't know if the 39-yard touchdown with the short drag over the middle was a play specifically set up for Rashee Rice. But I'd like to see more of those. Those plays specifically set up to get him the ball, whether it's down the field one-on-one and take a chance for him to make a play, which he can do, because that was one of the best things about him coming into the league was his ability to make those contested catches. But also, the guy is a horse when he's got the ball in his hands. I mean, once he turned the corner, was it Hobbs or Jones? I can't remember who it was. They weren't making the tackle on the 39-yard touchdown. He was going to run through the arm tackle. And by the way, shout out to MVS with the block down the field too. Because I'm looking forward to the All-22. Apparently MVS was uncovered and was running down the field wide open, waving his arms as like throw me the ball. And Mahomes went underneath. And unlike Deontay Johnson, MVS didn't stop and sulk and get mad. He then blocked and cleared a path for Rashee Rice to score. Getting the ball in his hands and just letting him pick up yards. Getting the ball in the hands of Kelsey, letting him turn and pick up yards. Even Sky Moore one-on-one outside with a guy who from experience doesn't like to tackle in Marcus Peters. Perfect. Throw him the ball. And then Marcus Peters got benched. Because apparently if you whiff on Sky Moore, you get benched. That's enough. That's as bad as it gets. Sorry, you're out. You can't tackle Sky Moore. Sit down. Apparently there's more that went into the story of sort of a back and forth with Antonio Pierce and then watching the rest of the game in a stocking cap on the sideline the entire second half. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. 913-912-4810. Get some more of your texts. Open phone lines, 913-3810-810. Open phone lines until noon. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. ESPN's NFL Insider. We'll talk with him. Andy Reid comes up with his press conference after Field Yates, and then Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director, will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from Field Yates coming up at noon, 913-381-0810. We open the phone lines the day after a Chiefs game. Don't forget Johnny's Tavern, the Monday after a Chiefs game. Unless they play on Monday night, that moves to Tuesday. But the Monday after a Chiefs game, you get the percentage off any specialty New York pizza, dine-in only. New York-style pizza, specialty pizza, dine-in only at the Johnny's Tavern's locations. You get the percentage off the Chiefs score. That is 31% off for the Johnny's Tavern special going on today. And then next week, on that Monday, we'll see what percentage off it'll be as the Chiefs head to Lambeau on a Sunday night football matchup with Green Bay and the surging Jordan Love. So we'll find out with that. But Johnny's Tavern locations, 10 locations, Metro, Lawrence, Topeka, 31% off. Just the third time this year you've received at least 30% off. Hopefully that changes with the way the Chiefs ran their offense. And I know it's the Raiders, but under Antonio Pierce, Raiders have been giving up like 13 points in those few games. And early on, it looked pretty rough. So as worried as people were early on, I'm going to poo-poo the 31 points in 3 quarters.
The Zone is presented by Guarantee Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels, Josh Brisco, a little time off over the next few days, hanging out in beautiful Florida. I believe it's beautiful right now. I have no idea. I'm guessing it's probably a little more beautiful than here, although not a bad sight seeing the snow on the ground. I have no problem with snow on the ground as long as it's not on the streets. You know, all good. And as long as, well, shouldn't say as long as there are no snow days because, you know, your wife works in the high school as well. The snow days typically are perfectly fine because the kids can stay home as she gets the day off as well. If you don't have that luxury, snow days may not be the best thing for you, especially if you have kids in elementary school that can't watch themselves. Snow days aren't the best thing in the world, but it is kind of a beautiful sight. When it was snowing on Saturday night, we went out, the kids and I and my wife went out there and just hung out. It was cold, bundled up, and just hung out with the snow falling a little bit. That was fun. And then yesterday, getting out in the snow yesterday morning and everything, that was cool. So you can go back to 70 degrees now. Perfectly fine. But Josh will be back on Thursday. We've got you over the next few days, and he is enjoying a little time off. But Dylan here with us, and we'll head up until 2 o'clock. 913-381-810. Open phone lines for this hour until noon, because Enfield Yates comes up. We'll talk with him about the weekend that was, the Chiefs, the offense, Frank Reich being fired by the Panthers. Andy Reid will have his press conference. We'll hear from him about 12:30. Mick Schaefer, the Oklahoma State Cowboy himself, heading to the Big 12 Championship. We'll get his thoughts as his feeling in the second quarter of that BYU-Oklahoma State game versus the overtime win for Oklahoma State.
On the Frank Reich firing, I heard the stat. He is the only coach in NFL history to be fired 2 consecutive seasons in a row.
Wow.
I mean, think about that. Because usually you get a little graceful I mean, David Tepper is not that owner you were going to get any type of leash with.
If early in the year Frank Reich was already talking about the meetings that weren't fun, I mean, yeah, we get a lot of, but they're not fun. I mean, not fun meetings. And he was already talking about that early in the year. Trying to, I guess, present what's going on behind the scenes without saying, yeah, this guy's all over the place, all right? This guy's he's talking about schemes. He's talking about game plans. Probably he should just stay in his lane and let me do my job. Well, he wants somebody else to do the job now. Because that offense is brutal. Bryce Young has not looked good. Of course, he's not throwing to many great targets.
And C.J. Stroud makes that look worse and worse.
Yep. And I would like to know, maybe Frank Reich will never say anything, because if he says something, it'd be throwing Bryce Young under the bus. But there were certainly some thoughts around there that Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud, and the owner was like, no, we're taking Bryce Young. If that's the case, then the owner made his bet. And Frank Reich then was perfectly fine getting fired and taking the buyout, because there are no weapons to throw to. And they don't have their first-round pick coming up this year, which is pacing to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It'll go to the Bears. So that help isn't coming anytime soon. But we'll talk with Field Yates about those things and any other coaches that may be on the hot seat or feeling the heat a little bit. By the way, like Sean McDermott, what are they, 0-6, 0-7 in overtime games? And it's crazy concept. They touched the ball last night. They got the ball. The Bills got the ball in overtime. I thought when you do that, you win. Both teams got the ball. In fact, the second team to get the ball ended up winning. It's weird how that happens. It's happened multiple times for the Bills in overtime. And maybe there's a difference between, well, there's a difference between trailing by 3 points with 13 seconds left and 2 timeouts, starting at the 25-yard line, and getting into field goal range and having Butker nail one between the uprights, going into overtime and the Chiefs winning, and being tied with 20 seconds left and 1 timeout and taking a knee. Obviously, there's a difference there because you're down by 3. You got no choice. You're tied with 20 seconds left, but also just simply saying we're going to go to overtime. We're good. If you're aggressive and Josh Allen throws an interception, you look dumb. If you are conservative and you lose in overtime, you look weak. The best way to go about it was trying to be aggressive there because hindsight's 20/20. We know now. I'm saying with the power of hindsight now, knowing what took place. Be aggressive, try to get into field goal range and win the game there at the end after a 59-yard field goal in those conditions that had about 6 or 7, maybe 10 yards of space. And Amendola misses a 58-yarder in perfect conditions that hits the crossbar for the Texans and losing to the Jags. That one was rough. I didn't see it hit the crossbar. I thought it landed at like middle of the end zone. I'm like, he came up 15 or so yards short on a 58-yarder. Then they showed the side. I'm like, oh, it hit the crossbar and bounced back. That's rough. That's rough. About a yard away from being able to hit that field goal to tie it up. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. Taking your phone calls on the Chiefs. They get the victory over the Vegas Raiders, 31-17. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Text comes in and says, Nagy's a mess in previous games in this first quarter. Nagy's too conservative. It's directly tied to Matt Nagy. Use Rice and Gray a ton more. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that the difference between Bieniemy and Matt Nagy, but I don't think it is in play calls or game plans. I think it's in just how they coach and how detail-oriented they may be. And I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes with Matt Nagy. I just know what the conversation and the reputation around Eric Bieniemy was for so many years. But offensive coordinator is Andy Reid. I mean, he's calling the plays. We've talked about it for how many years? Andy Reid calls the plays. Matt Nagy then relays the plays into Patrick Mahomes. So it's not about Matt Nagy being too conservative or this or that. It's about Andy Reid and the play calls. And to me, the first quarter was a little gimmicky on the plays. And then their third drive, finally, getting the simple pass on 2nd and 10 to Travis Kelce, picks up 12 yards, first down, move the chains, get some rhythm, and go. 913-381-810. Let's bring in Scott to the conversation here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Scott, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Jason, I want to start out by offering up a hearty MIZ.
ZOU to you, sir.
Yes, sir. You were talking about the Bills, and I was sitting there watching the game yesterday, and McDermott wasted 2 timeouts right before Philly went for the game-tying field goal, and I was just like, well, if they makes it, don't you want those 2 timeouts? You're going to have 20 seconds left on your 25. You can obviously – I mean, if the Chiefs would have only had 1 or no timeouts like the Bills did in 13 seconds, there's no way they pull that off.
That's right.
I didn't understand the wasting of the timeouts because if he misses it, you don't need him anyway. So I guess trying to ice him, but, I mean, he's an NFL kicker. The icing thing is silly. But beside the point, I wanted to talk about the Chiefs. And it's amazing how having Patrick Mahomes the last 6 years has changed my entire outlook on being a fan. Like, I wasn't happy with how the Chiefs played the first quarter yesterday, but I wasn't panicked. You know, I don't know I haven't been able to listen to the entire show today, so I don't know if any other callers were mad about the first quarter, but you know, I was on a text string with some buddies, and they were, you know, and granted we haven't played very well the last few games offensively, but I was just like, guys, we have Mahomes. It's Aiden O'Connell. You know, he's getting lucky on a couple throws, and his receivers made some plays for him. Just everybody relax. And, you know, I don't know. It's just Mahomes has completely changed my outlook on being a fan, even with Missouri. And, you know, the documentation of how terrible it is being a Mizzou fan over the years. And I've been right there with everyone. But it's just changed my entire outlook. It's crazy how having someone as talented as Mahomes just changes your outlook.
Yeah.
I would have probably turned the game off if Alex Smith was our quarterback. And Alex Smith was a good quarterback, certainly. The last point is, you kind of mentioned the gimmicky offense in the first quarter. We were quarterbacking, or we were calling plays as if Tyler Thigpen was our quarterback. I mean, the quick screens, the silly screen to
rolling the pocket to the right,
Yes, just taking the ball out of Mahomes' hands. I was just like, Andy, let Patrick be Patrick, please.
Yep.
And so anyway, have a great day. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Scott, I appreciate it. 913-3810810. The commentators even talked about it, talking about the Bills and the timeouts that were wasted. The commentators even talked about it, that them calling a timeout before the field goal, it almost felt like it gives the Eagles a little bit of time to breathe. Having some guys go out there and trying to get the kickoff, and then the Bills call timeout. It's like, okay, well, now are you trying to ice the kicker? Well, are you letting him sort of relax a little bit and focus on the kick? Icing the kicker can work. It worked over the weekend there was a college game. Oh, it was Michigan and Ohio State. It was Michigan, Ohio State. And it might have been before half or late in the game, whenever, that Shawn Moore called the timeout, and Ohio State got the free kick and nailed it between the uprights. Next kick, hooks it, so the timeout worked. Sometimes that does work. But to Scott's point, now you got 2 timeouts at the ball at the 25-yard line, needing to get into field goal range. A lot different than just one. But Bills fans aren't happy with Sean McDermott, that's for sure. And some of the game plan, and also, 3rd and 15 in the fourth quarter with 11 minutes to go, you're up by 3, and you give up the 35-yard touchdown to Zacchaeus in the back of the end zone when Hurts sort of just lobs it up there. Like, that can't happen. And then a little bit of trying to think of the right word, in your face, maybe, for lack of a better term, but just the symmetry of the talk all week between Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen about, like, well, yeah, Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns are all from 1 yard. Yeah, you're comparing Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, but Josh Allen's rushing touchdowns are when he's actually creating plays. Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns are from 1 yard out. And they win the game on a Jalen Hurts, 15-yard touchdown run in which he was creating plays. It wasn't a 1 yard run. That was kind of funny as well. But the first quarter, I'm in agreement with Scott. Like, I went through it at the beginning of the show on what felt like there were the script was, let's, scheme the guys, let's scheme the plays, and it's not going to be, hey, let's drop back and find the open receivers, see what the defense is doing, take what's given to you. It was screen pass -11, screen pass to a receiver on the outside, swing pass to Pacheco, rolling the pocket to the right. And then that Kelsey pass on 2nd down and 10 on the 3rd drive for 12 yards seemed to change everything. Because at that point, boom, handoff to Isaiah Pacheco, pass to Noah Gray, handoff, Pacheco, pass to Sky Moore. And it felt like, all right, get in a rhythm now and get rolling. Penalties were limited, no turnovers, 1 drop pass in the game. And that was Rashee Rice, who was just fantastic. He was awesome. I want to play this clip from Amik Robertson. This could be the funniest from the weekend, but it's not. After the game was over, Amik Robertson, the cornerback for the Raiders, I believe teammates with L'Jarius Sneed at Louisiana Tech. Here's Amik Robertson weighing in on his thoughts on the game and how upset he is and why he's as upset about that loss.
This one just hurt, because I know we better than that team. I know we got more dogs. I know we better than that team. So, I'm just pissed off that we couldn't pull out the win.
Is that the same feeling that the rest of the locker room has, in your opinion?
Yes, I mean, of course, because a lot of competitive guys. We put the work in. We know that we better than that team.
There are times in a game where the losing team you felt like was better that day. Where you go, man, I felt like that team was just, we've talked about it from the Chiefs standpoint. Even with the Eagles and the last Monday night, where, the Chiefs throw an interception in the end zone. Kelsey fumbles at the 8-yard line. And all of that, you still lose a one-possession game. Like, were you better? Who was the better team that night? Well, debatable in that one. Lions game earlier this year. Debatable in that one. The defense, gave up minimal points when the special teams or offense didn't have something to do with it against the Lions. Who was the better team? Well, the Chiefs had all the drop. If they don't drop the passes, all of that stuff. So I have no problem from time to time with players or even analysts saying, it felt like the better team lost that game, because that's just how the football bounces sometimes. Yesterday was not that game. If you felt like the Raiders were the better team, it is only specifically because of the first quarter. The Raiders were the clear better team in the first quarter. But the final 42 minutes of that game, the Chiefs outgained the Raiders 349 to 137. They picked up 22 first downs to the Raiders' 7. And they beat them 31 to 3. That's for 42 and a half minutes of the game. You're not the better team there. You can feel that way. That's fine. The Raiders want to feel that way. You get them again later. You get another chance to show that you're better. The Broncos felt like when they came in on a Thursday night to Kansas City that they let some things get away, that they could have played better and won that game, that the Chiefs were beatable. And then they went and proved it in Denver. The Raiders have a chance to prove it. But you don't come away from that game thinking the better team ended up losing, because that better team, quote unquote, that lost by 2 touchdowns and got outscored by 4 touchdowns in almost 3 quarters of football. The Chiefs turned it on, and the Raiders turned it off. And a lot of that having to do with the Chiefs, because the Chiefs' defense got gashed in the first, couple 3 drives for the Raiders. And when that Josh Jacobs run happened for 63 yards and a touchdown, the Chiefs' defense essentially at that point bowed up and said, no mas, because they gave up a field goal the rest of the game. And they gave up a total of 7 first downs the rest of the game. $13 yards, 11 yards, 6 yards, 60 yards, 31 yards, 7 yards, 9 yards. Those were the drives for the Raiders after scoring the touchdown with Josh Jacobs. That first quarter looked brutal. And to Scott's point, I talked about it at the beginning of the show. And by the way, 913-381-1010. Sitting there watching the game, and when Jacobs breaks off that run and scores, my son's sitting next to me and he goes, I got a bad feeling about this game. And I'm like, we'll see. Let's chill, it's early. I don't think the Chiefs' offense is as bad as it looked in the second half against the Eagles, and the second half against the Dolphins, and the second half against the Broncos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it's as bad as that of going 3 straight games without scoring in the second half and having the fewest points scored this year in the second half. I don't think the offense is that bad. The offensive line is clearly good enough. Patrick Mahomes is the best in the game. They've got the greatest tight end that ever lived. They've got some playmakers on the offense. Not a lot, but they've got some playmakers, at least 2 with Pacheco and Rice. It should be better than what it's been. And I wasn't panicking. I wasn't mad. I wasn't frustrated. I was sort of just sitting back and, all right, what's going to happen now? Does it start to get out of hand to where you go, all right, this is going to be embarrassing here? And the Chiefs went down and scored on that next possession. I thought, okay. This Chiefs defense is not going to give up 56 points to the Raiders. They're not going to give up 14 points per quarter. They will give the Chiefs a chance to come back in the game. And 14-0 quickly turned into 21-14. And that's the Chiefs defense, the Chiefs offense. They played as complete of a 3 quarters game as you can have in 3 quarters. Wasn't a complete game because the first quarter was a dud. And again, to Scott's point, it was the carryover of the second half of the Eagles game. And then the struggles continuing to take place and going, what is going on with this offense? And I wonder, moving forward, Tony being out, Hardman being placed on the IR, McKinnon being out, and I'm all for the bigger picture and limiting Pacheco to a certain degree. The end of the game when they needed to run the football a couple of times, whatever it was, one time, they handed off to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They didn't give that to Pacheco. Why? No reason to have him get in there and, take, more hits or anything. No reason. Let Clyde Edwards do that. Edwards-Helaire. And by the way, CEH was fine in the game. His role, he's looked fine in that role. But the wide receiver snap counts, again, Rashee Rice leading all receivers, then Justin Watson, then Sky Moore, then MVS. Richie James had 9 snaps, and Washington had 2. But you had Rice, Watson, Sky Moore, MVS, and Travis Kelce, and Noah Gray. Those were your guys out there. They weren't throwing in the Hardman and Tony and this guy and that guy and McKinnon out of the backfield and all these different guys that you're trying to work in. Maybe there's something to that. Limiting the wide receivers. We compared it to a college basketball team that has 9 or 10 guys in rotation in November and December, maybe early parts of conference season, and by the end of January and into February, you've got your 7 or 8 players that is your rotation. You figured out roles, and you have limited that. Because teams, even in 2015, the platoon team of Kentucky that would go 5 in and 5 out and just platoon, that tournament in the Elite 8 and the Final Four, they played like 7 guys. Even that team that was like 10 NBA players said, these are our 7 that we're moving forward with. And if you want to talk about getting in a rhythm and having an offense that can start to get on the, quote, same page with Patrick Mahomes, then maybe having 7 different guys out there running routes at certain times and mixing up the routes is actually a disadvantage, is actually something that is not working in the favor of the Chiefs. And maybe this with, okay, you integrate Richie James just a little bit, but it's Rice, MVS, Watson, Sky Moore, Travis Kelce. Those are your 5, whether you like it or not. In this game, Kadarius Toney coming back, if he's fully healthy, maybe he takes those reps from Sky Moore. And if moving forward, your reps are Rice, Watson, Toney, MVS, and Kelce, assuming health, and then Sky Moore mixes in from time to time, maybe the Richie James or whatever. Yeah, good with that. Because then it gives more opportunities for guys to go and be on the same page with Patrick Mahomes and to make plays. And guess what? It means you can get the ball to Rashee Rice a little bit more. Because Rashee Rice... Oh, and by the way, Isaiah Pacheco out of the backfield and what he's doing. Look, I love Jerick McKinnon. We've talked about that a lot. He's not the same Jerick McKinnon we've seen the last few years. He's lost a step. He doesn't have that burst. Pacheco does. They don't have the blazing speed in the backfield. But McKinnon doesn't have that same burst. Pacheco does. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco in this game. 22 targets, 19 receptions. 232 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's who Mahomes was looking for. It's who he was finding. Those are the guys making plays. Find ways to feed Rashee Rice, because that's a huge difference maker on this team. We can talk about the years past of the questions about whether or not Brett Veach and the scouting department can identify wide receivers. Whether that be McCole Hardman in the second round, Cornell Powell in the 5th round, Sky Moore in the 2nd round. Rashee Rice is different. He's different. He's a playmaker. He's good. He can do different things with the ball. Find ways to get him in the offense. 10 targets, target him 10 times. Josh and I talked about it last Tuesday. Like, Justin Watson got 11 targets. What would it look like if you targeted Rashee Rice 11 times? Well, we got a pretty good idea. They targeted him 10 times. 8 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. His first 100-yard game. He became a target for Mahomes. He became a weapon for the offense. Keep doing that. And we'll see if this offense can continue to stay in rhythm and figure some things out, because it looked broken at times, and then it didn't. And maybe you can poo-poo it and dismiss it and say it's the Raiders, but you weren't thinking about it was just the Raiders the first quarter. It was, good God, get anything rolling. And they did. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes as well, a couple of other clips talking about this offense, what happened in the game, and the win, and the meaning of the win. More Zone coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid's press conference about an hour from now. And then Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Some Learn Funniest Best with Mick Schaefer. 913-912-4810 text line. Text says, an actual friend told me on Facebook in the second quarter I already turned it off. I told him he's not a true fan, which pissed him off, but it's true. I mean, the people that turned it off, yeah, they probably feel bad that they ended up turning it off, or they feel like they're the reason, they're the true fans and the reasons why the Chiefs turned it around. Had your friend not turned it off, we'd be talking about a Chiefs loss right now. It's the only thing I can think of. It's the only difference. He was watching the game. They were sucking. He stopped. They played well. I say thank you to that friend. That's what I say. It's his fault. Or it's the reason that they ended up winning. So pat on the back to your friend. 913-3810810. Let's hear from Andy Reid in the mistakes that have been made and sort of cleaning those things up. There has been penalties. There have been turnovers. There have been drop passes that have stopped the offense and kept them from getting to the 20s. Certainly to the 30s. Here's Andy Reid on the day they had offensively cleaning up some of those mistakes.
I was proud of the guys for catching the ball the way they did. They really did a nice job. I mean, this is the thing. We do all that in practice, and they just did a nice job with that. And then the penalties, we were able to cut down on those. We still work in that area, and we'll continue to do that. But those unnecessary things, those things where you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, we eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, the only time they had one drive with 2 penalties on it, a false start and a holding penalty. They had another drive with a holding penalty. But you're talking about all these different drives and no turnovers and 2 drives where they had penalties on it, 1 drop pass in another drive. I mean, again, they've talked about it. We've talked about it. And, the numbers bear it out. And it's probably true for a lot of different offenses. But the penalties, drop passes, obviously turnovers that end the drives. But the Chiefs had 5 second-half drives. And even if you go to the 2 drives before the second half, you can say 7 drives after those first couple of drives that they ended up punting and looked out of sorts. Their final 7 drives before the knees. 3 touchdowns. They had a field goal drive. They had just your regular drive with no penalties, no drops, no turnovers. They got 1 first down on that drive, started at their own 7. That was the throw to Rashee Rice. End up punting. It just didn't work on that drive. You're going to have some drives where you have some plays that the defense makes, and you got to punt it away. We're not going to go 10 for 10 on drives. Then they had 1 drive where penalties ended the drive, holding, a false start, and they had a drive where it was a drop pass. So they had, and one of those penalties holding in the false start ended up being a field goal because they started in the Raiders territory. It started in the red zone because of the turnover on downs. So the holding, the false start, they didn't do much, and they kicked a field goal. They had another punt, again, where it was the drop pass. So out of those 7 drives, 2 punts. One of the drives that they punted on was a drop pass. So when they didn't commit a penalty or drop a pass, they went 6 of 7 scoring. Scoring drives, 6 of 7. So, yeah, the numbers bear it out that if they can just get – it's an ifs and buts and all of that stuff. If my grandma had a pair, she'd been my grandpa. But she doesn't, and they haven't been cleaning up some of the mistakes. They did in this game.
If ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. That's a good one as well.
That's true. Yes, I would probably not partake in the ifs. But I would – you know what? I think sometimes the Chiefs in the second half look drunk. I mean, they had 17 straight second-half drives without a point. 17 straight drives in the second half without scoring a point. I know that was over the course of 3 games, but that is still just a number that is mind-blowing. It's just like, never. Mahomes and Kelsey are out there and the offensive line's healthy. They're going to get some points in 17 drives. And then, of course, they had 3 scoring drives in the second half against the Raiders. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes talking about cleaning up some of those things and the offense just simply being cleaner in that game against the Raiders.
Yeah, I think it was just we executed better. I mean, you said it. We've shown that we can move the ball, but penalties and drops and me not getting to the right guy at the right time. If you look at the first drive, I mean, I go to Jay Watt, but they drop Kels from a cover 0 pressure. Might have been the second drive. And so it's just like little things like that. It's kind of stalled some of our drives, but we got to it. Kind of went back to the fundamentals this week, and we kept pressing and pushing, and we're going to try to keep going the rest of the season.
Patrick, what was the message after just showing last Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to bounce back. I mean, when you have a short week and you're playing a team like the Raiders, who always plays you tough, you have to bounce right back. You wash it, you learn from it, and then you kind of just go back to the fundamentals and working. And so we still have stuff to learn from this game. I mean, there were certain situations where we didn't execute at a high enough level, but we're obviously took a step in the positive direction. Now let's just continue to do that throughout the rest of the season.
I'd say it's a staple of yours to come back from double digits, but does it feel particularly important to do it with this offense, just where you guys have been recently?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they got up on us quick, 14-0, and we knew our defense would do a good job of maintaining and keeping us around, but we needed to get that drive. I think that first one especially, after having like 7 plays in the first quarter. So it was big on us to just really get back to the fundamentals, take the short stuff when it's not there, hit the check downs, and then try to utilize and hit the deep ones when they are there. So it was big for us to get that first touchdown drive, and it kind of got the momentum back in our favor.
I mean, you feel good today. You feel good this week. You hope that they can maintain it, but it is one game. What do you do now moving forward? Can you stack those against the Packers and against what will be a playoff approach for the Bills in that game coming up a week from Sunday? The Bills right now have a 21% chance, according to the FPI, 21% chance of making the playoffs right now. Whatever they end up doing this weekend, the Chiefs will have the Bills next weekend, and that will be the Bills' backs against the wall. You'd better be ready to go because that's a team that's going to view that as a playoff. They got to play. They're playing playoff football the rest of the way, the Bills are. I mean, they've got playoff games the rest of the way. So that will definitely be that feeling for the Bills coming up in 13 days from now. But it is one game. Now, do you stack it against the Packers? You got to do that. Tex says, if the Chiefs don't punt or turn it over, they'd score nearly 100% of the time. That's true. Wouldn't be 100% of the time, but nearly 100% of the time because you could get stopped on 4th down. That's just no punts or turnovers. Or are they counting, as a texter counting, turnover on downs? Okay, missed field goal. There you go. It's not a turnover. It's not a punt. Of course, right now there are no missed field goals. Knock on wood. Still perfect on the season. Harrison Butker. Tex says, quote, I was proud of the guys for catching the ball, end quote. LMFAO. Yeah, I caught that one too. Pun intended, by the way. From Andy Reid. I was proud of the guys for catching the ball. I was proud of my son for brushing his teeth. It's like, nice job, son. 8 years old, you brushed your teeth. You know what? Here's an extra hour on the iPad. Good for you, man. I was proud of the guys for catching the ball. Yeah, I think a lot of people were. They should be proud of themselves. Give yourselves a pat on the back. You did it. All right. You caught the ball. Almost all of them. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. And Kelsey had a big game. obviously along with Rashee Rice, but Kelce ends up with 6 catches, 91 yards, and he had been limited the last few weeks. And the defenses have done a lot to try to take him away and then say, somebody else is going to beat us. And the Chiefs' offense hasn't been able to do that with other guys beating them when Kelce hasn't had a great game. 6 catches, 91 yards. Here's Patrick Mahomes and trying to find ways to get Kelce the ball in the offense.
Yeah, I think it's just when you do get those right opportunities, you have to capitalize on that. That's why I was so mad about the first one that I spoke about earlier, where he got man coverage and won across the field, and I had predetermined that they were going to double team him. They ended up dropping him, and so when you get those man-to-man coverages or zone coverages when he's out there, you got to give him those chances. He's going to make plays happen, and so I thought for the most part, guys around him made stuff happen whenever they did double team him, and that takes teams out of that, and that's when you can get the football back to him. And we'll have to continue to prove that. Teams are going to continue to double him in big situations. We're going to continue to prove that other guys can make those big plays, and they'll take it out of that, and then we'll go back to Travis and kind of play with that median of how much we're going to put him in there and how much we're going to use him as a decoy, I guess.
Seemed like a perfect amount. But also, like when they're focusing on Travis Kelce, and if they're playing man-to-man, then it's other guys have to win. And other guys won. Like that was part of the game yesterday. Other guys won. So when we talk about the issues at wide receiver, real or exaggerated, issues at the wide receiver position, it's about when Kelce has all the focus, what do you do with your job? And Rashee Rice won, and a couple of those plays designed. You get that shallow cross, and he's there. You also had the gas motion with Justin Watson on the 39-yard touchdown, in which he took a couple of defenders with him. Rashee Rice left one-on-one underneath. Turns into a 39-yard touchdown. But that's somebody doing his job, catching the ball, winning, turning up and going. Is it the first or second touchdown drive in which the Chiefs faced 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, or I think it was 3rd and 8, actually. They hit Rashee Rice underneath on a shallow cross again. Not again, but that was earlier in the game before the long touchdown. And he catches the ball. He's got a defender behind him. He's got 4 or 5 yards to go to get the first down. And the defender hits him right around the first down marker. And yet, he picks up 3 yards past the line to gain. Because he's got some Dwayne Bowe type yak in his game. Some of that strong, legs keep churning. One guy's not going to bring him down. They had the quick out, down the line of scrimmage, not a quick out route, but the quick pass down the line of scrimmage where he caught the ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. There was a block out in front, and the Raiders played it pretty well. And it still ended up being a 9-yard catch, a 9-yard gain. He gained 11 yards, 6 of those after contact. He gets hit by a linebacker and picks up more yards. That's somebody that has to see the ball and getting the running game going with Pacheco. Those two things happening in this game because they've been mixing and matching. Okay, you got Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice doing these things, but you're not running the ball very well. Then against the Eagles, you run the ball well, but other guys can't step up and make plays. Then against the Raiders, you got both of them going. And I know Isaiah Pacheco didn't have some crazy great game. 15 carries, 55 yards. The bank account would have been very appreciative if he'd have got to 61 yards. That was rough. Juwan Taylor's holding call, an 11-yard gain for Pacheco. That hurt. It's fine. No big deal. But those were some tough, hard yards to pick up. And also, that screen pass, that was a touchdown reception, by the way. That ended up getting down to the 1-yard line. Pacheco ended up scoring. But that was a touchdown. If Andy Reid would have challenged it. And if you had Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns in that game, you're probably pissed. I did not. If you had Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns, you got a lot more faith than I do in that team. It also didn't hit. You also played the wrong side. But that would be Boy, that's some confidence. That's some stones to go Mahomes. No, Mahomes, I think he's going to throw 3 touchdowns in this game when the Chiefs aren't scoring. They're not even scoring 3 touchdowns in a game right now. But yeah, he would have got to 3 with that one. But even that, using a playmaker, that's what Adam Teicher's talked about the last couple of times we've had him on, or at least when we've just talked about Pacheco. One thing I'm going to bring up with him tomorrow. He's talked about Pacheco in the passing game. Get him involved in the passing game. It sucks with the screen pass. First play of the game, minus 11 yards, ends that drive. But he also had an 11-yard catch, and then he had that long gain that could have been a touchdown catch on the screen. I don't know what McKinnon ends up doing. No clue. But I don't think McKinnon gets down to the 1. I don't. In years past, McKinnon probably does. Maybe he scores. But Pacheco's a playmaker. Get him the ball. Rashee Rice is a playmaker. Get him the ball. And play off of Kelsey with those things. You've got Kelsey out on the field. Use him. And use Noah Gray more. I mean, Noah Gray's picking up yards after contact. He's dragging dudes as well. He's not some schmuck out there, some scrub that, can't catch. Use him a little bit more. Like, they've got some pieces there. And I think sometimes they get caught up in the, well, let's do the, let's run a reverse. Let's do the wide receiver screen. Let's just throw a regular screen pass, which, by the way, I'm fine with them mixing in a screen from time to time to help alleviate some things. I am okay with that. Just didn't work first play of the game. Didn't work. Those things happen. But just find ways to get the ball in the hands, a little bit downfield too. Shallow crosses, whatever it might be. Texas, each time the Chiefs catch the ball, Andy Reid has the Mr. Rogers, I'm proud of you clip in his head. So proud of you.
I don't know if you knew this when you made your comp to Dwayne Bowe earlier, but do you know who the last rookie Chiefs receiver was to have 100 yards in a game?
It was Dwayne Bowe.
It was.
And before Dwayne Bowe, was it Mark Boerichter, maybe?
Ooh, I don't know. Michael F. Florio had that stat, so I did not see past that one.
Well, there you go. I mean, am I wrong? Dylan, doesn't he look like Dwayne Bowe when he's running? I mean,
no, he does. I mean, that was a horse collar on that run, and he just ran through it.
He ran right through the horse collar. That's right. Ran right through the horse collar. If you took 4 off there and put 82, like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
And the sideline catch was like they had made that play together like as many times as Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers.
You're right. You're right.
It looked effortless.
Absolutely.
On his part.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the Sour. Field Yates joins us at noon. We'll hear from Andy Reid in his Monday press conference, wrapping up the Raiders game and getting ready for Sunday Night Football there in Lambeau, in Green Bay. Still no Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers matchup. Mahomes and Jordan Love. Mahomes and Jordan Love will match up for the second time in their careers, and Mahomes and Rodgers have never had a game against each other. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon, 913-912-4810. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. This question was presented as in trying to think of the way that it was worded. I didn't keep the question in here, but it was about like, hey, we heard some things from the locker room there when you guys got in the locker room. Pretty excited. I'm not sure what all was taking place in the locker room, but apparently it was a very excited Chiefs football team that when the media got into the media room, apparently they could hear some things coming from the Chiefs locker room. That's the way that it was presented to Patrick Mahomes, just about the way this team played and the meaning of the victory.
It was a good day. I still think we can be better. There was plays here and there that we didn't execute at a high enough level. But we're going to be going to Green Bay. We're playing in a great environment, which I'm really excited about, against a team that's playing really good football right now, and a defense that's playing really good. And so it'll be another great challenge for us. And how can we respond? How can we not have these highs and lows and continue to build throughout the rest of the season?
How important was second half success for this offense? You guys had struggled, and it's really important to establish that today.
Yeah, I think it's just all heart at the end of the day. In the second half, it goes down to who wants it more. There's no, I mean, you can have play designs, but for the most part, you're off your script. You're kind of picking at plays here and there. And Coach Reason put us in the best possible position, and Coach Nagy. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and just want it. And I thought the guys did a great job of that today. And even when stuff wasn't pretty, they made stuff happen. And then when Coach put us in the right spots, guys caught the football and I made the right decisions. And so it's in the second half of football games, it's about who wants it and how can you go out there and execute at a high enough level to win it.
It is interesting. The second half is about who wants it more and heart. Does that mean the Eagles wanted it more on Monday Night Football last week? Or the Broncos wanted it more? Or the Dolphins wanted it more in the second half when they played that way? I think there's more to it. I think he's, just giving credit to how hard the team played and his teammates and things like that, hey, we went out there, we played the way that we did, but they played a cleaner football game. Whether they wanted it more or had more heart, it cleaned up a lot of the mistakes.
He'll help you fantasy focus while he scoops the news. He's on TV more often than he's in bed. He'll break down the NFL without a single hair ever out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's bring in Field Yates to the conversation. Joining us here in the zone, our NFL insider from ESPN. Joining us, Field, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing well, my friend. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and certainly a great way to end the weekend yesterday for Chiefs fans with a decisive victory out in Vegas.
Yes, we did have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hopefully yours was good as well. How does somebody in your position celebrate and enjoy Thanksgiving, especially with a Black Friday game this year? So I don't know if years past you moved your Thanksgiving celebration to Friday, but what does somebody like you with fantasy and regular breakdowns of the NFL do around this time?
Well, the good news is that I think everybody who would normally be keeping eyes on me passes out after their turkey meal on Thanksgiving. So, I let my guard down a little bit. And we try to do a nice little blend of enjoying the games on Thursday while also enjoying the food, keeping an eye out for the most important stuff. But we actually had a pretty decent game to begin the day on Thanksgiving, and then not quite as competitive in the final two. But I'm a fan of 3 games on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I fell asleep during the 49ers game. I think the Seahawks did too, but I definitely did. And I woke up, I'm like, what was okay, all right. Nothing to see here. Except for the fact that I had a 5 anytime touchdown parlay with McCaffrey being the final leg, and so I was fine. Woke up and saw that.
How about that?
All good, feeling good on that Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, Thanksgiving paid for itself this year, huh?
You know, it actually did. I was sending some texts to Dylan and Josh. There was the first. I hit 2 different single game parlays in the first 2 games of the day on Thursday.
I need to borrow your betting advice.
Yeah, over since then. Flying a little too close to the sun after that one. What about the Chiefs? Last time we talked, they were getting ready for the Monday Night Football game against the Eagles, and it ended up being the 3rd straight game where they did not score in the second half, and that was so much of the conversation last week that we had. And the Chiefs go out there and score 17 points in the second half against the Raiders, and they have 3 straight drives, Field, of 70 or more yards, 3 straight touchdown drives of 70 or more yards, which is the first time all year that they've had 3 straight drives, having to go that distance and actually scoring a touchdown. What did you make of yesterday's game? Is it a one-off, or maybe they might have figured some things out offensively in the final 3 quarters?
Yeah, Jason, I haven't received my fruit basket yet from the Chiefs, but I think they'd like to thank me because after I tweeted they had gone a total of 8 drives with 150 yards. Of course, that spans back to the second half of that Philadelphia game. They went on to rip off those back-to-back-to-back scoring drives. It looked much more like the Chiefs' offense that we have grown accustomed to for the past half decade. And in the NFL, no matter what it is, one game is not enough to say definitively that, this is how things are going to be. But when you have a team with that much experience and the best player on the planet and the best coach going right now, what you know is that sometimes it takes one game to mentally get over whatever hurdle had been sort of preventing you from getting there previously. And that might be the case with the Chiefs here because while they have not necessarily had their way with inferior defenses, yesterday was actually a stiffer test than people might realize. The Vegas Raiders have been playing pretty solid so far defensively, given some of the personnel issues. And I think this could be like a flashpoint moment for Kansas City, right? There's usually 1 or 2 per season that make your season go the right way or the wrong way. And I'm kind of wondering if yesterday might be the one that helps force them into the right direction and keep that hold. Well, I guess not on the number 1 seed technically right now, but they still have the inside track. They hold serve for the remaining 6 games.
Yeah, if they win out, they do control their own destiny because of tiebreakers with the losses and NFC losses versus AFC losses with the Ravens. So with the Ravens off this week, if they beat the Packers, they're back to the number 1 seed. We'll see. They got to take care of business, though. The big takeaway that I think most everybody had was Rashee Rice in a breakout game. He gets targeted 10 times. He has 8 catches, 107 yards, a touchdown, has the 39-yard catch and run that he took a 4-yard, short crosser and turned that into a 39-yard, catch and run. Is that part of the Chiefs moving forward and what the difference can be in the offense, that you start to utilize somebody like Rashee Rice, who has the skill set that he does and yards after catch ability that he had when he was at SMU. And you know what? The contested catch ability, which he had that, back shoulder throw down the sideline for 19 yards. That was a pretty play between he and Mahomes. Is that the step that the Chiefs can take and take away from this Raiders game, is try to find 10 targets a game for Rashee Rice?
No question about it, is that he needs to be on the field a lot, and he needs to be the number one wide receiver in terms of snaps played per game, other than Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because he is forever going to be the 95% of the snaps guy who's going to probably only have like 2 or 3 targets in a game. And I get it, he's a lightning rod character right now, but he plays a role for them that's never going to change. The role does need to change, though, is Rashee Rice's. And I actually felt like yesterday, kind of what happened early in the game, is that they kind of worked the offense like short to far, right? Like they kind of sort of found their rhythm with some short passes early in the game to set guys up for yards after catch opportunities, kind of builds the confidence a little bit. And they didn't have a ton of like way down the field strikes, but I think rather than trying to open things up by going vertical to short, they went short to vertical yesterday. And I think that can do something for not just the receivers, but also Patrick Mahomes to kind of get into a rhythm early in the game. And as far as what he can do with the ball in his hands after the catch, I think Rashee Rice is pretty clearly, at least amongst the healthy guys, the best option amongst their wide receivers.
Is it also correlation causation when the Chiefs go out, score 31 points, that 37 touches in the game for Kelsey, Rice, and Pacheco?
Yeah, probably. I think there's probably some causation there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, put the ball in your best player's hands,
Mm-hmm.
and that's usually going to end up doing the trick here. And those guys were all excellent yesterday. And, Kelsey, that's the standard that we hold him to, deservedly so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pacheco found the end zone on multiple occasions, whether it was he ended up – I was happy he got that rushing touchdown after it was a screen pass that was
a touchdown
down at about the 1 yard line. It was pretty clear. It's really interesting coaching strategy, by the way. Like, the ball was in their court, and they went fast to kind of like get up to the line of scrimmage and try to punch it in. I wonder if somebody was calling down to Andy saying, hey, come on now, challenge that was clearly a touchdown, or if the mindset was, who cares, it's close enough, we've got first and goal. If we can't score from the 6-inch line, we're not a good enough offense anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took a couple plays, but they eventually got there. But yeah, I joked. I was like, well, you know what? If you had Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns in that game, you got to feel pretty salty about that. Also, if you had Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns in that game, what the hell were you thinking? They've gone games without scoring 3 touchdowns in a game. So
I mean, my colleague Mike Clay noted that they were going into yesterday's game right at league average in terms of touchdowns scored per game, offensive touchdowns scored per game. Whereas, remember all the way back to Patrick's breakout season, it was at 4.2 or something. They were down to 2.3. So it's been a much different go of it offensively this year. But in the same way that it feels like maybe the Jaguars are doing this, maybe the 49ers have done this since since they had their 3-game skid. Like one game can oftentimes create opportunity and confidence and momentum for future games as well.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN. The Packers this weekend, Sunday Night Football for the Chiefs. They head to Lambeau Field. We see the Chiefs offense. What's going on with Jordan Love? Has he figured it out? Is this the light switch turning on? And the last 4 games, this team's 3-1. He's got a over 100 quarterback rating, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, averaging about 275 yards per game, completing almost 70%. Like, what are we seeing from Jordan Love? Is this him taking the next step and becoming this quarterback?
I tell you what, the Packers are the perfectly imperfect team for social media, in the social media era, for this reason. At the beginning of the year, Jordan Love had 6 touchdown passes in his first 29 attempts. I don't care if you're a math or statistics major or not. That's not sustainable. That's over 20% of your attempts turning into touchdowns. But all of a sudden it was, wow, like the Packers have it figured out. And then he kind of came back down to earth in a fairly dramatic way. And they're like, oh, wait, this guy's a bum. How could you ever trade Aaron Rodgers? I don't care if Aaron Rodgers has a torn Achilles. I'd still take him over Jordan Love right now. And yet, over the past month, they've really picked things up on offense. And I think that it's like been a gradual, slow, progressive movement that in the mid-2000s would be kind of what you'd expect, right? You have a young quarterback. You hope he gets better week after week after week. But now everything has to be judged the moment that it happens, that the Packers have gone up and down in the eyes of the public. It's been a pretty impressive job of just like improving steadily over the past few weeks. And I don't think it's a surprise that it's happening when some other young playmakers, and by the way, this is the youngest roster in the NFL, have been healthy, like Christian Watson, and also just playing a bigger role in the case of Jaden Reed. So this team is not fully formed yet. They still have long ways to go. I would not say that they are a team that even if they find a way to squeak into the NFC playoffs is going to do a whole bunch of damage. But I give them credit for really improving over the past month or so. And it'll be an intriguing game on Sunday night. I'm not sure this is a tough challenger to the Chiefs, but this is not a cakewalk either on Sunday night.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN. Frank Reich was fired this morning, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, 11 games into his tenure with the Panthers. What do you make of the decision there with Frank Reich and moving on from him? And follow-up to that would be, I mean, how good is that job with it doesn't seem like there's a lot of talent on that team, and they might get the number one pick, which goes to the Bears.
That's right. Yeah. So in terms of what I think about it, I understand that having been in the league, like there's more that you don't realize is taking place behind closed doors. So while I do accept that concept, I will just say that I find the idea of firing Frank Reich 11 games into a tenure as sort of meaningless in the sense that, like, what does it accomplish, right? Like, was Frank Reich the sole reason why this team is 1-10? No, far from it. The only offer or the only counterpoint that I've heard so far is that if you knew that you were going to fire Frank Reich, you might as well try to do it now and try to salvage a little bit of your quarterback's confidence during his rookie season. But frankly, Jason, I'm not sure that this, that to me is sort of a meh argument. In terms of what this job could appeal to going forward, as I have reminded many times, there are only 32 NFL head coaching jobs. Some coaches will work for 30 years and never get an interview, much less an offer. If you are offered one, you must seriously consider it because they are not a guarantee. However, if you are a candidate that is interviewing for every job this offseason, and we've got at least 2 full-time vacancies that need to be filled, and surely there will be more, and you are offered Carolina and Las Vegas and any other job that might come up, I think that you're probably going to have to stack these jobs, and there's a compelling case that Carolina dead last. Obviously, the talent is a major issue on this roster. I'm not ready to write Bryce Young off, but I also don't know that he is going to be a star like C.J. Stroud has proven he is going to be for the Houston Texans. You have a fired after less than 2 full seasons. How can you feel like you have any job security whatsoever? I have called the Carolina Panthers the most college football head coaching job in all of the NFL because the only thing that's guaranteed is the millions of dollars that you should receive in your initial contract, but your buyout, which doesn't actually exist in the NFL, is probably the biggest in the entire NFL because your owner might fire you 10 minutes after he puts pen to paper on your contract.
Yeah, not bad. I talked about a couple of weeks ago when they played the Bears, like at the end of that game, it just felt like Frank Reich was waiting to live the fired coach life and looked miserable.
I could think of worse ways to spend it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Now Chris Tabor is the interim head coach. St. Joe's, interim head coach from Benton High School, went to Benedictine, coached in Missouri for a little bit. So a local connection there with Chris Tabor. Hopefully he does some good things there. Matt Canada, was it just his fault? They get to 400 yards without Matt Canada, and 59 games they hadn't got to 400 yards. And somebody that may or may not have Pat Freiermuth on his bench this week, is that something that maybe consistently that the Steelers weren't using enough? He was injured, but weren't using enough the tight end Freiermuth.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, as it pertains to the Chiefs, right? 1 game sample size is not enough to definitively state anything, right? So I'm not totally buying the idea that the Steelers' offensive coordinator by committee plan is going to turn this thing around dramatically. They were playing against the Bengals team that has its own injuries on both sides of the ball, and when you're playing against a team that has Jake Browning under center in place of Joe Burrow, I think it changes your mindset a little bit. You understand that, like, you have a little bit more margin for error. You don't need to score 30 to win the game. You might need to score 15, 18, 20 points to win the game. But But if you look at the numbers, they bear out that there was a direct, I would say very specific plan to target the tight ends and work the middle of the field. That was two areas that, if you look at the numbers prior to yesterday, had been a big problem. Instead, yesterday, they were a big strength. And, when you have Deontay Johnson and also George Pickens, you don't want to totally abandon those perimeter targets for those guys because they're very, very talented. But Kenny Pickett looked a lot more confident yesterday. That much is for sure. I am still not sold on this team offensively by any stretch, Jason, but a step in the right direction. And anybody who had Pat Freiermuth as the leading receiver in terms of total yards for the NFL for the week, bravo to you.
Yeah, I had him on my bench, so that's good. All good. All right, what do you think happens this Sunday night? An early look ahead. Chiefs 6.5-point favorites right now over the Packers. If you're guessing and picking 6 days away, what do you think happens in that game?
I think they win, and what I'll be curious, though, is which version of the Packers do they bring out? Because and I'm not talking offensively. I think the Packers will be okay offensively. But we've seen the Packers in recent weeks look better defensively and then have weeks where you're like, who are they, right? Like when they played the Steelers a few weeks ago, they did not turn the football over once. They had a total of 1 sack of Kenny Pickett. And while the Steelers did not light the world on fire that game, through the air, they got absolutely torched on the ground at the tune of, I think it was like 200 plus rushing yards. So this defense has found a way to punch below its weight too often. That's been a problem why they haven't been more successful to start this season. So I think that this is a winnable game for sure, and I think that they can build some confidence based off what they saw this past weekend. Certainly Sunday Night Football tends to bring out the best in all NFL players, and the Chiefs. I'm sure. I know they can't talk about it publicly, but you finally reach the point where we can start to do the playoff scenarios here pretty soon. So that this division is not clinched by any stretch because Denver has become a very good football team. But Kansas City kind of knows that you win this one, and all of a sudden you enter pretty juicy. Is it the Buffalo?
Yes.
Buffalo and I guess the Patriots after that. But that Buffalo game looms large after this one. So you've got to be most wary for the potential of a trap game. But they'll win on Sunday night. That's my feel for it.
Yeah, and that Buffalo game is going to be a Buffalo team in playoff mode moving forward. So you are going to get a desperate 100%. Buffalo team after the Packers this Sunday night. We'll see what happens. Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL insider from ESPN. Field, you're the man. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for the time. Enjoy the football. We will talk next Monday.
Sounds good, my friend. Talk to you then.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN. Great stuff there. And yeah, as he said, what version of Green Bay shows up? Maybe not necessarily offensively, but defensively. Against the Steelers, it was the third time this year the Packers have given up at least 200 yards on the ground. Okay. That would certainly bode well for the Chiefs and Pacheco and doing some of those things, staying ahead of schedule and some handoffs early on in the downs and maybe playing off of that. The Lions, end up scoring, 22 points in that game? It was 29-22, I think was the final there on Thursday. They picked up 140 yards rushing. I mean, they're giving up a lot of yards on the ground, are the Packers defensively. Well, Pacheco was a guy that was utilized a lot more in the game against the Raiders. And Pacheco had his season high in target share, his season high in routes run for the Chiefs. And by the way, no Jerick McKinnon. That makes sense. And Rashee Rice, look at this number. Rashee Rice's target share. So that means the routes that he runs versus how many times the ball is thrown to him. So when he's out there running a route, because you can be out there blocking, doesn't matter. When he's running a route, how many times the ball is thrown his way. His season high before yesterday was 18.9%. So let's round up. 19% was the season high target share. He was over 31% yesterday. Meaning 1 out of every 3 times, essentially, he ran a route, the ball went to him. He also had his largest percentage of routes run in the game. He played more. He ran more routes. He got the ball more. Chiefs scored 31. He had 100 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco, his most routes run. His highest target share. And he had 5 catches, 34 yards, and could have had a touchdown. Could have had a touchdown rushing and receiving. He did have his first multi-touchdown game in his career, but he could have had a multi-touchdown game, one on the ground, one through the air, because that was a touchdown. They just did not review it. The Chiefs had first and goal from like the half-yard line or whatever. They end up punching it in. It's a touchdown regardless. It's a rushing touchdown for Pacheco instead of a passing touchdown for Patrick Mahomes. That also would have given him, he had 298 yards. Would that have given him 300 yards? No, he had 298. If he finished with 299 and 2, might go to Andy and be like, hey, buddy, about challenging that play, huh? Ended up with 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game there. Also, how about his quarterback rating? What does one more yard and one more touchdown do for his rating? Was at 122.8. In fact, I'm going to do that live on the air right now. Are you as curious as I am? I think you are. All right, pass attempts, he had 34. Completions, 27. Pass yards, 299. Touchdowns, 3. Interceptions, 0. 132.7 quarterback rating, if that's a touchdown instead of down at the half-yard line. That's pretty good. Pretty good day. Pretty good day for Patrick Mahomes, especially how it started the first 2 drives. And as Field Yates said, he tweeted out after the first 2 drives for the Chiefs, before they ended up going 3 straight drives and scoring 3 straight touchdowns, he said, going back to halftime against the Eagles, 8 drives, 150 total yards for the Chiefs. And then they picked up over 200 yards in the next 3 drives. 3 touchdowns. Pretty good. Pretty good. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the head coach, Andy Reid, in his Monday press conference, wrapping up the Raiders win and looking ahead to the challenge of playing the Green Bay Packers Sunday Night Football there in Lambeau. More Zone coming up next. All right, thank you to Field Yates joining us. 913-912-4810 is the text line. News out of the NFL and news out of Vegas. This report coming from Vic Taffer. Vic Taffer? Vic Taffer? I think it's Vic Taffer. Vic Taffer. He reports the Raiders have released cornerback Marcus Peters. He had an interception return for a touchdown in Week 8, but he was benched last night. We talked about that in the first hour of the show, that Marcus Peters missed a tackle. I don't know if that was the missed tackle on Sky Moore, but missed a tackle. He and Antonio Pierce had some sort of a back and forth, and Marcus Peters spent the second half off by himself watching the game. They have now released Marcus Peters. But here's the kicker for Marcus Peters. The move saves the team $1.5 million in incentives that Peters was on pace to earn. He was on pace to earn $1.5 million in incentives. The Raiders have released him, and he clearly did not hit those incentives with the Raiders. It's a rough missed tackle for Marcus Peters. Let's hear from Andy Reid as his Monday press conference. Here's Andy Reid as they wrap up the Raiders game and look ahead to the Green Bay Packers. Andy Reid with his opening statement on this Monday.
All right. Don't have any injuries for you right now. Guys are just starting to come in. Listen, I started off yesterday mentioning about the fans, and they were phenomenal yesterday. We appreciate all that support on these away games that we get. I thought we started off slow and both sides of the ball, and we were able to regroup, pick it up. Tribute to the guys for not panicking, the coaches not panicking, and everybody kind of keeping their head and actually playing better as we went through the rest of the game after the 14 points. And so defensively, it's hard to pick one guy. Obviously, Chris is the leader of that bunch, and he kept the guys going there, and then he had good production on top of all that, so he played well. But I thought as a group, the defense just played very, very good football after those 14 points. They rallied it and made the changes or adjustments that they needed leverage wise, and ended up coming out with a good game. And again, Spags, he kept all that together, and it's a tribute to him and his staff there for doing that. And then offensively, I felt again, we started off slow for the first couple series, and then things picked up, and it's a tribute to Pat and Pacheco and Kels and how they and they just kept everybody going and with their energy, and it ended up working out. I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job, even when we weren't getting the drives we wanted. I thought they're doing a nice job up front against a good defensive line. So as an end result, those three guys had a nice day. The offensive line had a nice day. When it was all said and done, and we were able to score in the second half, which we hadn't done there for 3 games. I thought Nags had a great game plan, and the execution by the coaches, they did a nice job with their input on the plays. So all in all, good day on the offensive side and defensive side. And then special teams, I think did a nice solid job on special teams. Field position was good. We had to fill in that punt return position and kickoff return position. And I thought the guys did a did a good job there, stepping up. Richie securing the ball, which was important, and then Sky and Richie on the kickoffs. They did a nice job with, with what they needed to do back there to follow Dave's plan there.
Yeah, Sky Moore with the fair catch. The 1 yard line, fair catch for Sky Moore. That was a thing of beauty. That might have been my favorite play yesterday. It wasn't. But it was nice to see. If he would have returned that, he would have got to the 19-yard line, hold, started that drive at the, 9-yard line, whatever. Yeah. I liked it. Andy Reid continues. We talked a lot about Rashee Rice today, and there's been a lot of talk about Rashee Rice postgame yesterday. Different things written about the Chiefs win, and Rashee Rice. Andy Reid says that Rice is showing development as this season goes along.
Yeah, I should have mentioned Rashee in the opening remarks there, Pete. He's been getting better every week, and he's working to be more Patrick friendly, and so not that that's there's a lot that goes into that when you say something like that. So, and a lot of it is just playing. But being willing to fit your game into the offense's game and how Patrick sees things, and so he's done a nice job of being open that way, and listening and kind of deciphering what defenses work with what routes and how to manipulate that. So and Kelsey's been a good example for him, and has been had some good input there too. So, but anyways, I didn't mean to skip him, but it was good. It was a good offensive. It was good to be productive, as opposed to the first half, to be able to kind of get a complete game after the first couple series.
Is there an example that you've seen over the last couple weeks where Rashee has done something to make himself more Patrick friendly within the framework of the offense?
Yeah, so when we're doing special teams and he's not in there, he goes over and works with Pat, and they talk through things, and then they run routes, and kind of this is the look where I'm seeing you on this route against this coverage, and they spend time with each other there, and then off of the field likewise, for meetings they keep good open communication there. So it's something that's needed, especially with a young receiver. But he's getting better every week. He's getting a little bit more production, yes, but also a few more plays and opportunities to get in the game.
And it has certainly made a difference for this Chiefs team. Again, like we talked about, the largest percentage of routes run for Rashee Rice in a game happened yesterday. The largest percentage of target share for Rashee Rice happened yesterday. Previous high was 19%. Yesterday, 31.3% of target share. Essentially, 1 out of every 3 times he was on the field running a route, Patrick Mahomes threw him the ball, working to be more Patrick-friendly. I think everybody on the Chiefs' offense should work to be more Patrick-friendly. And Andy Reid describing that as being willing to fit his game with how Patrick Mahomes sees things. Listening, understanding defensive schemes, good input from Travis Kelce as well, but doing some of those things to take his skill set and saying, how can I mesh this with what Patrick Mahomes is seeing? And that is certainly working and worked yesterday, and hopefully that continues. Andy Reid continued, and Blair Kirchhoff asked Andy about the Chiefs' recent success on third and short situations.
Yeah, Matt and Andy Heck head that up. Tom Melvin and Corey Matei, they all kind of join in on that and work the run and the pass game together in those situations. So they've done a nice job with it. I think the more guys that are available, that are threats there that you can utilize from a coaching standpoint, it's a positive thing. And so, we were talking an example with Rashid that he's getting better. Well, those are situations that he's becoming more familiar with, and now he can be part of that equation of helping out there. And then Kels, likewise, and then Pacheco and Clyde are doing a nice job likewise. And Clyde stepped in, for McKinnon in the third down stuff and did a good job along with Pacheco. So
let's go next to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
I'm Brad. I'll have a follow-up if I could. Coach, the 4th and 1, the Raiders had a 4th and 1 at your 12 on their second drive. They chose to take the field goal. They missed it. We've seen teams, feel a need to be very aggressive against you, maybe keep Pat off the field, get 7s and not 3s. Is that anything? I mean, I know you guys had a 3 and out after that. They got a touchdown. It wasn't like that was some, monumental moment of the game, but was that maybe something that was talked about on the headset or maybe amongst the guys as a motivator that, hey, they think they can just settle for 3s on us here?
No, I don't think that, Seren. I will tell you, I'm glad he missed the field goal. But that puts him up, 17 now, which was the same amount as last year, which you don't want to be in that kind of a position. But I think the fact that they end up missing it, that kind of gives you a little juice. But I'm not sure we took full advantage of that from an offensive standpoint. So.
And then I know you said guys are just coming in, but Kadarius Toney didn't play. I know last week was probably maybe a little lighter load practice-wise. He was practicing and then didn't go. Is there any update about where that was, what your thought process was in him being inactive, or how close he was last week to maybe being active for this game?
Well, he just I'm not sure he could have taken a hit, and that's kind of what it came down to. I mean, we thought we'd give him time, a short week, give him as much time as we could progress there, but it just didn't work out that way.
Hopefully that means he'll be able to go this weekend. If it was, I'm not sure he could take a hit, is what Andy Reid said there. Wanted to give him a little bit more time to heal with the short week. Maybe that means that he'll be good to go against the Packers, but I don't know how quickly somebody can heal from maybe not being able to take a hit to then going into a game. And again, even if he's active, it doesn't mean that there's a bunch of routes that are going to be run by Kadarius Toney and a bunch of plays for him and, targets and receptions and opportunities to even get hit in those plays and in that game. So we'll see if he's going to be able to go on Sunday against the Packers. Obviously, McCole Hardman will not being placed on IR. The 4th and 1 by Antonio Pierce deciding to kick the field goal, I couldn't believe it at the time. And I thought it was a mistake before Carlson missed the field goal. It was obviously a huge mistake after Carlson missed the field goal. But you get in that position, the Chiefs' defense has been pretty salty. And to think like, we'll just take points here. And to Seren Petro's point of, I don't know if that fires you up or anything, but them going, 4th and 1, we'll take the points. We can take 3 here. We'll take 3. We'll take the field goal. Go up 10-0. And that'll be good, as opposed to a lot of other teams that are like, you know what? Lions, first game of the season. We're going to fake punt at our own, 30-yard line. Because we can't be punting to this team. We're going to go for it on 4th downs because we can't be kicking field goals against this team. Is that a change in mindset from some teams? Did Antonio Pierce give a little bit of what could be a change in strategy from different teams? Give that away? I don't know. But it wasn't the smart decision at the time. I would have gone for it. Doesn't mean you get it. You don't get to press the easy button, right? We talk about that all the time. You don't get just to press the 3-point button. Just take the points. Well, yeah, you've got to make the field goal. That's always dismissed in the go for it or kick a field goal. You can't go for it, just take the points. Yeah, that also has to execute. You also have to execute the field goal too. So it's not like you get to go for it on 4th down, or just, you know what, guys, refs, we're just going to take 3 here. Just go ahead and give us 3 points. We'll take the 3 points here. No, there's also a risk in going for the field goal. in that you miss it. I mean, Justin Tucker missed a field goal yesterday. The Patriots missed a field goal from like 35 yards to tie the game. Yeah, it's not easy. Carlson missed a field goal first time in 50 tries or whatever from that distance or inside 40 yards. So, yeah, you don't go in the game going 4th and 1. We're up 7-0. We're moving the ball on this Chiefs defense, which not many teams have. Let's take 3. Okay. Go for 7s. I don't care if the Chiefs offense is struggling. Number 15 still on the sideline wearing a Chiefs jersey. Andy Reid continued, and Matt Derrick asked Andy Reid how Jerick McKinnon is doing and also Nick Bolton's status.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get some work from Nick. He's wanted to go here even before this, but we're just trying to make sure he's right for that. So, and then McKinnon, his groin's been bothering him, for a bit. He's kind of pushed through it, and it was at the point where he was going to have a hard time, working at the level he wants to work at there. So, and be safe on that,
We'll go last to Todd Palmer. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Andy, appreciate the time. I wanted to ask you about the Justin Watson touchdown. Spillane kind of knocked him down, and he gets back up, sticks with the play. Like to see that kind of fight, and then we're in a situation like that. Are you a little bit more okay with the penalty when he then kind of got in Robert's face there?
Listen, Spillane hit him pretty good now, knocked him off his feet. Just the fact that he bounced up the way he bounced up was amazing. And then to make the catch. And then I love to see the fire in the guys. I can't stand the penalties right now, but the fire, I could see why he did what he did. Yeah. That was a pretty rough hit that he took there. So, but he's a tough kid, man. He's a tough kid. And for him to bounce up like he did and then the score, he didn't flinch a lick on that. And, I'm good, but I'm not good.
Good, but not good. Understandable. It didn't hurt the Chiefs. But Spillane did clean his clock. He was coming over. But guess what? It worked in the Chiefs' favor. Because by Spillane doing that, everybody just forgot about Justin Watson. They just let him go. Watson jumps right up. And as Mahomes starts going to his left, I looked at my son. I'm like, touchdown. He's right there. Wide open. I didn't see Watson get depleted. So I didn't know why he was that wide open. But Mahomes saw him, touchdown. And then I was giving high fives to my son. I didn't see Watson go over and get in Spillane's face. So then the penalty's there. And I'm like, did they have somebody downfield? What was it an illegal contact? Does it matter? Are you just going to decline the penalty? What's going on? And they're like, oh, it's going to be after the play. I'm like, oh, I don't care. After the play, whatever. Chiefs got a touchdown on the board. If it means you got to give up 15 yards on the kickoff, hey, that's fine. They didn't even get back to the 25 on that one in Butker's kick and the coverage of the kickoff team. I'll exchange that every time. Hey, by the way, Chiefs score every single drive, but then they're going to kick off from the 20-yard line instead of the 35. Oh, no. I'll take it. 10 drives, 10 touchdowns, 70 points. But they might give up some because they're going to kick off from the – yeah. Obviously, you don't want it every single time. I get it. But Justin Watson was pretty fired up there. And Andy Reid can't stand the penalties. I'm good, but I'm not good. I'm good with the way he played it. Tough kid. Got up, got back in the play, caught the touchdown. But in that moment, there was a lot that maybe Justin Watson was letting off his chest on behalf of the Chiefs offense and finally getting to the end zone after the previous 8 drives that they had picked up a total of 150 yards, and then they finally punched it in. We'll take a time. And by the way, real quick on that one, when we talked about Jerick McKinnon and Nick Bolton, saying that they're going to get some work from Nick Bolton. He's wanted to go for a little bit, but they've wanted to make sure that he's good. And then he said McKinnon's been his groin has been bothering him for a while. Hey, you know what? If it means if he takes weeks off and that thing gets fully healed, if that's why we haven't seen the burst from Jerick McKinnon, maybe he's nursing a groin injury. Hey, get healthy, and if that's the issue, then hopefully that is the issue. That he's just been bothered by that, and that has taken away a little bit of his explosiveness. Hopefully that's the case. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, wrap up this hour. Mick Schaefer joins us in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels. Heading up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with and hang out with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Texas, do the Chiefs begin a stretch to where the next 6 games they will play opponents that have more rest than the Chiefs each week? And yes, they do. Whether that matters or not, we've talked about that before. We've gone in and even looked at and studied some of those things, and it never really correlated to this team having an advantage or another team having an advantage. But yes, the Packers played Thursday, Chiefs played Sunday. Buffalo is off, so the Bills are coming off a bye week. New England, I believe, plays a Thursday night game the week before the Chiefs play New England. Vegas plays a Thursday night game the week before the Chiefs play the Raiders. And then Cincinnati plays on Saturday when the Chiefs play the Raiders on Monday. So then that'll be Chiefs and Bengals. The next week will be on shorter rest than the others. And I think Chargers and Chiefs play on that Sunday. So, yeah. It is, 6 straight games? We'll see if it matters or not, because right now they don't play a team with a winning record the rest of the way. So, I mean...
Someone had them in the playoffs here. I can't remember who.
Oh. Yeah, I mean...
I'll grandstand on that while my Bill Belichick take of him being a good coach continues to deteriorate.
I don't think there's a disagreement on him being a good coach.
The great part is where I'm having deterioration.
Yes. Greatest of all time is falling apart quickly for Bill Belichick. Sean Payton earning more accolades and earning you more street cred.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels. Mick Schaefer, KSHP 41 Sports Director, joining us. Mick, you, have you looked into buying a second property in Pittsburgh, Kansas?
It's Narnia down there. It is. If I get to the pearly gates and I'm given a choice, heaven or Pittsburgh, Kansas, I'm going to at least pause. I'm going to be like,
some of my favorite memories are in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
It's the greatest place in the world.
I've never been there and been sad.
Paris or New York or Rio de Janeiro, all that combined is Pittsburgh, Kansas. I love that place.
Yeah, for you. It's been a joy. For 5 years in a row, it's Thanksgiving and then Pittsburgh, Kansas.
5 years in a row. Yeah, and I hadn't had to travel for Thanksgiving for 5 years in a row.
There you go.
Everybody comes to me.
There you go. If you're not aware, Pittsburgh, Kansas is where they play the state championship game with Mill Valley playing in it. One for the thumb.
In a row. It's the seventh total.
Who's counting?
7 and 9 years. We're counting every time. And but yeah, 5 in a row. Here's more evidence how perfect of a place it is. I tweeted this out last night. Did you see images from all the other state championship games in Kansas?
I did not.
So these are pictures from Emporia, Topeka, Hutchinson, Newton, Salina, and Hayes. And then the bottom right-hand corner is Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
All the other places look like a scene from The Road, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a post-apocalyptic place.
The Road.
And it looks like Cabo in Pittsburgh. It was amazing. You just found out how big of a state Kansas was in that I think the snow eventually got there.
Yeah.
Because when we got to Kansas City, it was a winter wonderland that night. But from 1 to 4 o'clock in Pittsburgh, it was 50 degrees. It was sunny most of the time. I brought a coat, didn't wear it. Took my jacket off. Just had a little hoodie, ball cap, and jeans. Was great.
You were feeling so good in Pittsburgh, it was jacket off weather.
It was absolutely that.
5 in a row for you guys. Congratulations. I don't know if that's your learned, your funniest, or your best. Maybe it's all three. We'll find out in the next segment. Yeah. But yeah, so there you go. Win for Mill Valley, and congratulations to all the state champions out there. Yeah, and Missouri coming up, this weekend?
Yes.
Or
state titles this weekend. Usually the big class plays Thanksgiving weekend, but they moved that back, and so you've got the Liberty North. Right?
Yeah.
Moving on, looking to bring that big class trophy back,
blocking an extra point.
Yeah.
Although the officials did call it good, and then everybody came in and was like, "The ball's laying on they blocked it. It's laying on the ground over there. It looked like it went through to me." That's not true, but
You're
I feel
joking, right? Okay.
I'm obviously joking, but you didn't know if I was or not. That's the point. No, congratulations to Liberty North.
Liberty North, St. Thomas Aquinas won in 4A, Gardner Edgerton won in 6A, and then you've got several teams on the Missouri side still going for state titles.
But that Liberty North misses a field goal at the end of regulation to win. And then they go into overtime and they block an extra point to win. So
special teams, man, especially with 17-year-olds.
Kicking game with the 16 and 17. College kickers, high school kickers.
Kearney going one in Class 4 next weekend against Hillsboro. And let me make sure I've got who's playing.
Yeah, who is playing? You got all those?
Well, I don't have the opponents. So in Class 3, it is Park Hill Central, not from the area.
Oh,
against
they got another Park Hill.
Not around here, they don't.
My goodness.
Against Seneca, they beat St. Pius, so that's not a local game. North Platte, though, up in Dearborn, Missouri, between here and St. Joe, they're going for a title in Class 1.
There you go. And Chris Tabor is the interim head coach for the Carolina Panthers from St. Joe, Benton High School. And
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little 10-second reader I'll have at 6 o'clock.
There you go. Yeah, St. Joe's own Benton High School graduate. And then coached at Mizzou for 3 or 4 years, not recently.
Who hasn't? Andy Reid even did.
Okay? You're not wrong about that. Some of these coaches, though, you look at the resume of all of the different places they've been to. It's like, oh, you coached at 15 different spots. That's amazing, but it's just part of the.
That's how it works.
They're working up the ladder, so we'll see how many meetings he has with the owner week in and week out, as he is now the interim head coach. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor named interim head coach because Frank Reich was fired this morning by the Carolina Panthers
Shortest
owner.
stint I heard in like 45 years or something like that.
Dylan gave us the what could be his learned, what could have been my learned, what could have been your learned. What was the stat again for Frank Reich, Dylan?
The first coach since the merger to be fired in consecutive seasons, the only coach.
Oh, wow.
Can't wait to see who he coaches for next year.
He didn't even get to Urban Meyer's 13 games.
That's right. What was Bobby Petrino's? Was it like 13 games or so?
Would it be worse to do that tenure where it's so short and sweet and then never get another chance, or back-to-back firings like this?
Well, and then wasn't he? I mean, this is how fickle it is in the NFL. Wasn't like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he was the hot commodity. He had a great season.
He's like
he was getting coach of the year.
Yeah.
Was he just votes or did he get it?
I thought maybe he won coach of the year.
Didn't he take Andrew Luck to the playoffs his first year and lose to us, and then Andrew Luck retired?
Yeah, that was not probably in his plans.
No,
part of the plans. Yeah, that's right. It was not part of the plans. I guess I don't see that he won coach of the year. I thought he did. I thought he won coach of the year. So clearly coach of the year is a big deal that we pay attention to a lot.
Somebody's coach of the year. He was maybe Indiana's coach of the year.
He was. Yes, that's exactly right. Over Tom Allen, the IU head coach.
Whoever's at Purdue.
Is I have no idea now.
Well, I don't know. You got to beat out the Notre Dame guy every year. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Notre Dame is in Indiana. That's
Marcus Freeman.
That's true. Yes. What about Evansville though? I mean, Evansville.
Don't sleep on Terre Haute.
Why would you?
Indiana State.
Nobody would sleep on Terre Haute.
FCS.
Nobody would do that.
Does Evansville have football?
I don't think they do. I don't think they did. They got a nice little basketball.
They used to have they still wear the sleeves.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do, but they had those jerseys. Yeah, that's right. An interesting weekend of NFL football, obviously, with the Chiefs winning against the Raiders, scoring 31 points. The third time this year the Chiefs have got to 30.
Mm-hmm. Been a while, though.
11 games in, they have reached the 30-point mark 3 times.
And was it last year they averaged basically 30?
Pretty much.
Most of the time, that's their average.
Under Patrick Mahomes, they've pretty much averaged 30 points. They had gone 8 consecutive, before they scored their first touchdown against the Raiders, they had gone 8 consecutive drives, picking up 150 yards total, and no points. And before they scored their first touchdown of the second half, when they came out in that first drive, they had gone 17 consecutive second-half drives without a point. 17. I don't care if it's over a matter of 3 games, but 17 consecutive drives of really anything for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense seems incredibly rare to go that many times drives and not score a point. They've had opportunities, turnovers, penalties in inopportune times, etc., but 17 straight drives, no points, and then they go 70 yards and put a touchdown on the board. Another touchdown
31 was
later.
good to see. I don't know if it's fixed. A lot of that is, a bad Raiders team that you dominate.
Find out the next
new
couple
coach,
weeks.
Find out, but it was good to get off the schneid.
Yep. Yeah, it was an interesting weekend because, Chiefs win, obviously, but K-State couldn't take care of business against Iowa State in what was a fun game.
So,
it was a really fun game.
Am I right on this? My son was telling me
Probably
he goes
not.
to K-State. Oh, it's from him. Guarantee. He said Iowa State only had 10 first downs that game.
They had so many big plays.
I was like, wait a second. A touchdown's a first down. So, and they had 6 of those. Did they really only have 4 real first downs? I mean, the guy ran from 300 yards, right? And there were so many big plays.
It was huge plays all over the place with K-State and Iowa State. It was back and forth. And it was like with that field, one cut, and it's like, well, that guy's gone because other guys can't get there, can't catch him. And, that's
the whole thing. Like when you have the elements, everybody's like, well, okay, it favors the running team. We can't throw. I'm like, well, it's tough to throw in the elements, but it's also tough to cover passes, right? It's maybe easier to run, but it's also easier to cover the run. I don't think anything was easy that night in that game.
KU took care of business in a big way, and the number 1 pro football focused college graded quarterback, Jason Bean, over the weekend in his game. Okay. He had like a 96.7 or something like that out of 100.
Let's
So yeah, and then Missouri dominating.
Cincinnati's
Arkansas.
been very cooperative.
They
They've given
have.
us A, some great pictures of the Kelsey brothers this year, and B,
sorry,
lost like 8 Big 12 games.
It was an odd laugh from me.
This boy Doughboy poking at you.
That's right. I'm trying to find the first down numbers for Iowa State. I mean, they were 3 of 7 on third down. I'm looking at the team stats. I'm just obviously at the wrong place.
Okay.
The wrong place with team stats. NFL.com is not giving me the full team stat breakdown that I
You go to ESPN. That's where it's at.
I know. I just did a
ESPN,
quick Google search.
Kansas
and it's
State
dumb,
football.
I was going to go there, and then I was like, let me just find this random thing here. It's just so stupid.
Because touchdowns are first downs.
Yeah.
I believe they're counted that way.
I mean, they should be counted that way. You would think. Oh, well, there you go. This is top 25 scoreboard. It's right there. Well, nope, I don't want week 14. I don't need the Big 12 championship game. Nobody's watching that.
Regardless, I think KU had like 31, or sorry, K-State had like 31 first downs in that game. But
here we go. Team
touchdown first down.
Stats. First down, K-State 32, Iowa State 10.
Go to play-by-play, which I don't want you to do. You could probably figure it out.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look at it and go, they had 22 more first downs. They had, this would be Briscoe's dream box score. Briscoe's dream box score. Iowa State wins 42-35. Kansas State held the ball for 42 minutes. 18 minutes for Iowa State.
Lost, yeah.
42 minutes to 18, and they lost 42-35. That would be Briscoe's dream. That actually should probably be his Twitter background or X background, whatever. It's just that time of possession and score in that game. Yeah, and by the way, K-State won the turnover battle too. They were +1 in turnovers and plus 24 in time of possession. Plus 22 in first downs. Total yards was, it's a little skewed. If they didn't have to take the knees and run around before Iowa State got the ball last and then did the little run around to end the game, the total yards, 497 to 497.
Even, yeah, I saw that. They threw it up there.
Phenomenal. What a great game. It's one of those where it sucks that somebody had to lose that one because it was so entertaining. I would have hated to have been in attendance for that game with the elements and how cold it was, but watching it on TV was fantastic theater. Enjoyed it. I would have liked to see K-State win because I picked them to win 9 games this year, so that would have been cool. Then I would have got all 3 of the teams right with K-State, KU, and Mizzou only winning 6 games this year.
You would have nailed that one.
Would have gotten all 3 games. What happened with what's that, Dylan? Oh, they won 10 games.
Turn that 6 upside down and then add another one.
Well, how about that, huh?
Perfect 10.
You know
Almost
perfect.
perfect.
You know what that means? Me picking them 6-6 and Seren picking them 9-3. We were both wrong.
both
that's
missed.
That's what that
Both
means.
missed it.
We both missed. We both underestimated Mizzou. I do love that he went 9-3, and everybody's like, "You're crazy, 9-3."
So I actually had him at 10-2, but I had him losing to K-State and Florida. So I
beating Georgia.
I missed it. I don't know what I was thinking.
I had him 11-2, playing in the SEC winning the SEC championship, not making the playoff because of the 2 losses. It's too bad. Yeah.
God, 1 year away on that puppy.
Story of their life.
Sure, you'll come right back with another 11-win season next year, okay?
Adding Texas and Oklahoma. Add Oklahoma to the schedule. Not a big deal. They will be in the top 10 with only a couple losses. They'll be all good. No worries. It's not like they're losing one of the best running backs in the nation. Your team certainly has maybe the best running back.
When they
in the
remember
nation.
to give it to him, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
And when he's focused on football, not like jawing at the fans in the middle of the second, like, hey, Ollie, it's over here, okay? It's over here.
Hey, Ollie.
Yes.
All right, come on, okay?
Dial it
in. Here we go.
Dial it in.
Let's go.
I don't know. I mean,
so I have no
Mizzou,
idea what they're going to be next year.
You could maybe say they overachieved by a couple games. I don't know if you've overachieved as much as Oklahoma State. I mean, that season just came out of nowhere. I mean, just how bad they could be.
To South Alabama.
In the space camp school, too.
You cannot just
the UCF.
You called them the space school.
Space camp.
About 20 times now. But they, you know what? They took care of business, and they went from
biggest deficit ever overcome at home.
Oklahoma State fans going, Every Oklahoma State fan would have told you this was happening. Every Oklahoma State fan would have told you.
It's very similar mindset to the Mizzou fan base. Thank you very much.
I don't disagree, except for the whole Final Fours and basketball and everything and all of that stuff. No Oklahoma State fan, I guess, would have told you that they would have come back and won that game.
Not at 24-6, and they had to get a fortunate call on the onside kick, or it could have been even more before the half. Defense had to throw basically a shut. They should have won in regulation, missing the PA. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. But whatever. They got the best thing is Oklahoma State will sometimes jump up and have good seasons. For instance, they're the only team to go to 2 Big 12 championship games the last 4 years. It was a rotation. It was TCU, K-State last year. Year before that was like an Iowa State OU or something like that. And then the year before that was Oklahoma State Baylor. And so, there you go.
What about Texas? Are they Texas? No,
2018 was the last time. You'd think they would go there every year and win it.
Right.
The way you hear,
they've been. A lot of people talk about the Texas back. A lot of back muscles and stuff.
Yes.
Apparently, their back is really good this year.
This is the closest they've been to back this year in a long time.
They're backing right in.
O State will have good seasons right every now and then every now and then they'll spoil Oklahoma their seasons.
That's all
they've never done it all in one game. Prevent OU from going to the Big 12 championship game is absolutely better than going to the Big 12 championship game yourself.
Yeah, but you do it in 1 year.
In one
game.
You
get
get
both.
right there.
In one game, and beating BYU.
And thanks to K-State losing, O State didn't have to eliminate K-State. It was just head-to-head with OU State. Well, what are we going to do? What are you going to do there? Well, let's go to head-to-head. That's the first tiebreaker, Sooners.
The Big 12 was, thank God.
Yes.
Why did we even have to go through all of that last week? It was.
Well, this is a
Todd
lesson.
was saying for how many days it's going to take care of itself.
This is a lesson for all conferences. You better have divisions or round-robin play. That's what the Big 12's always had, and it's been fine. It's easy to figure out. When you don't have either of those, it is a mess.
Well, what's the SEC going to do? No idea. They're going to do divisions. Are they going to do pods? Are they going to do no divisions and just do what the Big 12 and the top 2 just play for the they need to figure it out soon, but no idea right now. You know what? I'd like for them to do 4 different 14 pods.
I think Big 12's going to have to do something like that too.
Missouri with Vanderbilt and South Carolina and Arkansas. That would be my preference if they could do that. And Missouri be the 4th team in that pod.
Wait, who else is in your division?
The pod would be Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Arkansas.
God, it makes sense.
And
the
Mizzou.
worst teams possible.
Who says no?
Who says no?
Who says no to that one? And I think you need to put Georgia and Tennessee and Alabama and LSU all in one pod.
You should have the top 4 teams from the league this year get to draft their pod. It's like a fantasy draft. Just do a snake draft.
That's right.
Mizzou, you draft. Well, we'll take Vandy. We got Vandy.
It's got Vandy.
Yeah.
I guess we'll take South Carolina. We whip them every single year.
Georgia will be like, you know what? I don't see A&M coming back for a while. We're going to take the Aggies.
That's right. And then you put Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and like Ole Miss together. You know?
Yeah.
Who says no to that?
And then Saban gets 2 picks. He takes both Mississippi schools.
No, I've already put Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee together. Sorry, they're already in a pod. We can't change those.
Makes sense.
We're just trying to make it fair. We're trying to even these things.
It means
out.
more to those 4, I believe. It means more to Mizzou, but it means more risk really to them.
And only one of the teams from that pod can play in what would be the SEC playoffs.
Can you get on your pod? Can't play for a playoff.
Yeah, SEC semifinals, then a championship, then on into the playoffs. Sorry, win your pod next time. Win more games.
Quite
is what
honestly,
I say.
if they did pods, they would probably have the winner of every pod and maybe a wild card making the playoff every single year. You'd have 4 or 5 teams in.
They're going to make it a Big 12 pod.
Yeah.
If they do pods, it's going to be a Big 12 pod. Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and Missouri.
Think? Geographically, makes some sense.
Yeah, I think because the Missouri fan in me is like, of course, every year they're going to be against Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas A&M.
Texas does not
belong. Worried about necessarily Texas A&M.
You ready for this? Texas does not belong, period, in the same sentence as Oklahoma. So
I don't disagree. It's just they've got a lot of. I mean, they might be back. I've heard they're back now. Sark might be different, right? And then A&M, you're always going up against the guy who looks at himself in the mirror and thinks that he's Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
which I know McConaughey in Texas, but they look in the mirror and they're like, it's like you're a pretty successful dude. They look in the mirror and see Travis Kelce. dating Taylor Swift, making millions of dollars, the best to ever do it at his position. It's like, no, dude, you're a great, like, you're killing it as a sales manager at your business, at your company. But you look in the mirror and for some reason think you're Travis Kelce. That's A&M. That's A&M.
That's exactly what that is.
They look in the mirror and see a better version of Texas. No, we're too good for Mark Stoops. We're gonna hire Mark Stoops, who turned Kentucky around into a team that won 10 games multiple times. But A&M, no. You can't go get Mark Stoops. Okay, who are you gonna get? Are you gonna get Dan Lanning from Oregon? Why would he go to A&M? He could beat Washington on Friday, and he's playing in the playoff.
Would you go to A&M and compete with 50 other schools for Texas guys when you almost own the coast over there?
Right.
I mean, West Coast.
I pick Oregon to win right now, depending on what happens the rest of the week. Although a month ago I picked Washington to make the playoffs. So if I pick Oregon to win.
You've always been a big Pac-12 guy.
Got it on both ends. All right. Washington or Oregon. Whoever wins, I got it. Just got to pick Oregon to win the game.
Vegas hadn't figured that out yet.
I know. They're so stupid. They are not smart at all. All of those big buildings built on just taking out loans.
It's loans. They are deep in debt.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, okay, waiting to get bailed out on their loans. But people just go there and just cash out a lot of money. The Chiefs did, of course, with their 31 points. But, yeah, it was a fascinating weekend and 4 days of football and games and everything.
Best.
It was great.
5 counting today, right? And you count Thanksgiving.
That's right. Yeah,
because you had the Egg Bowl and you had the 3 games on Thanksgiving. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Friday's one of my favorite days because I'm off that day and we have so much family in town.
Mm-hmm.
We just go. We watch Iowa, Nebraska was a work of art. That was amazing. I have so many Iowa fans, so many Nebraska friends, and they're cordial to each other. I know normally they're not. They wear the "I'm with stupid" shirts, and each one is pointing at the other state. But they were both great. They both know how bad their offenses were, and it was hilarious.
The total on that game was
24.5.
It ended up at 24.5?
Before the game, it was 24.5.
It was at 26 on Wednesday.
Yeah. I got it, and it underhit.
It underhit.
I got it at 25.5 during the game when, Iowa was threatening to score. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to. I think it's 3. So it moved up a point. I'm like, I'm going to grab it now, and yeah.
And now they got to play Michigan with Harbaugh back.
They'll figure out a way to make that close. I wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, Iowa's defense and special teams are out of this world. They're so good.
They're clearly amazing because they're not giving up really any points to other
9-3, or are they 10-2?
10. It's like
they should be 11-1. They should be knocking on the door. Right, the Minnesota game. Right, They should be 11-1 if it weren't for that out of nowhere hero review call on the Cooper DeJean punt return at the end of the Minnesota game.
Oh, that's right.
It'd be 11-1.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I just we'll follow Kegs and Eggs. Adam Kramer. He's a huge fan of just a bad college football. I'm the same way. I think it's so much fun when you don't have a dog in the fight too, just to see the absurdity of it all.
Yeah, and we had everybody over on Friday hosting Thanksgiving, and luckily Missouri made it very easy to still interact with everybody while watching the game and
put their foot down.
Absolutely. Cody Schrader's total for the game, rushing yards going into it was 114, and he had that in the second quarter.
Right.
It's like the last 3 games, Vegas has not had Cody Schrader's line. They can't catch up high enough to where it's started in the 90s, then 2 weeks ago was 101. This week was 114. Okay, 114 had it in the second quarter. He's been unbelievable, and Missouri just going in, leaving no doubt about the dominance over Arkansas. And they should be in a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah,
but they'll probably get
one?
screwed. They'll probably get screwed. I mean, I saw there was a bowl projection yesterday that Missouri's not in a New Year's Six bowl.
Is it not if you're in the top 8, you're in one?
No clue.
I've looked up. There must not be hard and fast rules.
There's an asterisk at the bottom that says unless it's Missouri.
That makes sense. And then if Texas or Oklahoma's out of it, asterisk, they can go in.
That's right. Yes. This is the... I'm looking at for Iowa, and then we'll take a break at Learn Funniest Best.
Well, O-State will try to knock Texas off for Mizzou so they can jump the Longhorns.
That would be great. Yeah.
Pokes are 9-3 against Texas the last 12 years. Hopefully they're probably going to lose, right? Texas is way better, but there's no fear factor there.
They'll find a way.
For Oklahoma State going to this game. Okay, another game against a team that's yearly overrated. The best part about Texas, they've been able to win close games this year. The K-State game. the Houston game, a handful of others, everyone basically but the Oklahoma game.
Kirk Ferentz in Iowa, their third 10-win season in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
10-3, 6-2. So they didn't win 10 games because of the COVID year. 6-2, 10-4, 8-5, 10-2.
He is very similar to Mike Gundy in that he has been there since the dawn of time. And fans do not like him, or especially his son, during games. But at the end of the year, when you step back and you've calmed down, take a breath, count to 10, write an angry letter, throw it out. You look back on the big picture, and like, okay, you know, we're Iowa, and we just went 11-2 and won the Pop-Tart Bowl, right? Which is a bowl.
Why not? Kirk Ferentz got to Iowa 2 years before Gary Pinkel was hired at Mizzou.
Yeah.
2 years before. He was in his third year at Iowa.
It was the late 90s, right?
It was 98 or 99, one of those when Kirk Ferentz got there.
And so it's always like, you know, Soren says it all the time, if not him, then who? Who are you going to get? Who's Oklahoma State going to get that's probably a top 15 coach?
Urban Meyer.
Right? Okay, whatever. Brings wins.
Mark Stoops.
Who are they going to get that wants to be there?
Eli Drinkwitz.
You need to wait for the end of my sentence.
Sorry.
That wants to be there their entire life. That's a top 15 coach that doesn't want to leave. Mike Gundy's probably the only human on the planet for that.
Yeah. There are a few places that I always appreciate, too, like the coach. It's like, no, I'm happy here. And then they sign a big contract extension. Like Saturday night, Mark Stoops was gone. A&M was hiring Mark Stoops by approval of the board. And then all of a sudden, the fan reaction from Texas A&M went crazy. And about 2 hours later, Mark Stoops puts out a statement. Oh, I can't leave Kentucky.
Yeah.
I love it here. Everybody love this is the place for me. I just love Kentucky too much. I can't leave. Why'd you put out a statement earlier?
Yeah.
You didn't put when the reports were that you were taking the job, quiet as a church mouse. Nothing. Then all of a sudden the reports are A&M might be backing off Mark Stoops because of the reaction. They may not get the approval of the board because of the reaction. And then an hour later, I love it here at Kentucky. I ain't going anywhere. People can throw my name out there all they want, but I am staying here. This place is just, I love this place, even though all year long people have been asking for me to be fired and saying I don't deserve the $9 million I'm making per year. I love it here. Salvaging the season by beating Louisville.
I feel like we think a lot of times that these decisions for these coaches are just going to so black and white, so absolute, so easy. Like, Drinkwitz would obviously leave for this job. When in reality, I think there's so much gray area, right? And it's almost a 49-51% decision that could go either way with so many of these coaches. We've seen that before. Gary Patterson had one foot in Manhattan long time ago, and then came back. Remember Larry Brown back in the day when he said, I'm staying at Kansas, and he after he said it, his hand almost went over his mouth, like he was like, I can't believe I said that. And then a few weeks later, he's leaving for, what was it, UCLA in 89 when he left. And so I feel like a lot of times these guys are really conflicted, and they make their pros and cons list. They write it down on the legal pad, and one of those pros or cons would be fan reaction from new school.
It's winning the press conference. It's weird. A couple of years ago, we had like a fact or fiction question about Eli Drinkwitz and would he be there as the Missouri head coach the next year. And I said he would. And then it started an argument about, of course, he would take any job. And then I was called a homer because I said, well, there's a lot of factors that go into it. And then I said, if he were to turn down a job, then it was made out for me saying that job was a better
Auburn
program.
job, right?
Yeah, it was like, well, if he turns down Auburn, so you're saying Missouri's a better program than Auburn? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Well, then why would he turn down that job? And then weird, like a couple of years later, Lance Leipold and Chris Kleiman go through the same thing, and everybody's like, well, why would they take the Nebraska job or the Wisconsin job? I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Yeah, you think? Welcome to my... No, well, you're a homer talking about Eli Drinkwitz. No, said the same thing about Lance Leipold. I know this. I said the same thing about Eli Drinkwitz, Lance Leipold, and Chris Kleiman. And I continue to say that about every coach.
Yeah.
I think Mark Stoops takes the job. I think it would have been a terrible fit. I think it would have been an awful fit. Mark Stoops at A&M, I think it would have been a disaster. But it would have been a job you can't turn down because the money is stupid. And you reset the shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky fans are tired of them. A&M fans may not love him at first, but then they'll get behind him.
I feel like it would have been about one of those, okay, ball gets knocked out of bounds. We're only resetting it back to 15, though.
That's exactly right. That's
right.
right.
It wouldn't have gone back to 24 or 30 or whatever.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I love that. That's true because he
hit the rim, knocked out of bounds. Still, we're going to retain possession, but 15 back.
When Charlie Strong took over Texas, terrible fit. That's not going to work. But you can't turn down Texas. Texas offer you a job, you're taking the Texas job. It's just what you do. And it didn't work out. It was a disaster there because it didn't fit. Mark Stoops, it didn't fit. It didn't seem like a fit there at Texas A&M. I was rooting for it because then it lowers.
Hurts two programs?
Yeah,
maybe.
Hurts two programs. It's fine. You take the best coach ever at that program. I mean, I know Bear Bryant and everything at UK, but he left for A&M, by the way. And then to Alabama. That would have been funny because then Mark Stoops would have eventually been the Alabama coach and one of the best coaches that ever lived.
Yeah, I think your argument back then was, okay, if Eli Drinkwitz is doing such a good job that he's going to get interest from Auburn, there are tiers above that he might want to stick around for. And that's what we said about with Leipold and Michigan State. Why would you go from Kansas to Michigan State? If you turn around Kansas, better opportunities in Michigan State are coming around. It's like when you have a $200,000 house, you want to upgrade. You don't upgrade to $225,000, right? You're going to wait around for $300,000 or $400,000. Do you afford that? Yeah. And I feel like that's what that argument should be.
And I think also at the time it was just like there's a lot of things that go into it, like what job, because it wasn't we're assuming he's offered a job. It was just, will he be there? And I'm like, well, we can't assume he's offered a job for this argument. So the job has to be open. They have to choose Eli Drinkwitz. He has to want the job. The money's going to have to be there. They'll have to outbid Missouri, that outbid Arkansas for him. So many different factors. And then also, is he happy at the spot that he's at? Does he have the fan support? What's he doing at the time? All of those things that go in with Lance Leipold and Chris Kleiman. Gene Taylor gets the extension. Chris Kleiman. That connection seems like it's going to be there for a long time. And I think Manhattan is going to have Taylor and Kleiman and Tang, it seems like, for a very long time. And by the way, update with K-State basketball, Jerome Tang saying no update on Tomlin.
Oh, really? Okay.
No update and no date settled for when he will return to the basketball program. So that came out.
Even because he did last week, he got the diversion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, but still no update, no timetable for the return for Tomlin from Jerome Tang. Could be next game. Mm-hmm. It's just no timetable for the return. It's an indefinite suspension. Means could be tomorrow. Could be the next day.
He'll get out of bed.
Could be 2 weeks from now. Could be right before the Kansas game. Could be a lot of different things. I'm not sure. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. Learn Funniest Best coming up next from an extended weekend with the Thanksgiving break. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Brisco enjoying a little time off. I don't know if he's enjoying it. He's taking a little time off. You know, he's probably enjoying it. Down in Florida with the family and wife. So good for him. He'll be back on Thursday. But we are here. No matter what, whether he's here or not, we are here. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. Time for Learn Funniest Best. It is presented by Pyramid Roofing. For a free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. The snow falling, the ice, the weather. You want to make sure that the roof above your head is intact and everything is good to go. For a free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. So, learn funniest best. We go around the room. Things we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, best from the weekend. What I learned this weekend, a couple of things. Well, there was about 50 different things that probably learned over 4 days, you would think. I learned that I didn't enjoy the movie Oppenheimer as much as everybody else apparently did. Thought it was okay.
Long movie.
Yeah, 3 hours. It went very fast. It was like, oh, this happened 3 years later, 5 years later, 7 years later. What did we? Okay, whatever. Apparently, I needed to read the biography first before the movie. Whatever. I learned that.
You didn't even know it was like a nonfiction story. You thought it was just like another Marvel movie, right?
Yeah. I thought it was. I thought it was about some entertainer.
The multiverse.
That was the bomb. It's like this guy, the father of the bomb. I'm like, oh man, I remember when we used to tell people they were the bomb.
Yeah.
.com.
Joe Montana, he was the father of the bomb, right? He's the best at the bomb.
Marino and Montana, they were the father of the when it comes to other teams, they have become death.
By the way, that's the best thing about former 80s and 90s NFL quarterbacks. They threw Hail Marys. It's not a thing anymore. Wish it was.
So that was one of the random ones. But I also learned that Kentucky has a running back that is in his 7th season. A 25-year-old running back, Ramon Jefferson, who is enjoying his 3rd senior year.
That's amazing.
So apparently his first senior year, he could have been a rising senior going in.
Ramon Mitch Lightfoot Jefferson?
Yeah, that's right. Ramon Jefferson in his 7th season. 3rd year senior.
Wow.
there.
Is he walking out every time with his folks and getting the flowers and everything?
That's every single year he does that. It's like, you would think you'd be a better running. He's the backup. You'd think you'd be a better running back as a 25-year-old out there on the field against 18 and 19-year-olds. But fine player apparently. Found that out over the weekend. What'd you learn, Mick?
That speaking of Hail Marys, this guy, his Hail Mary led to the teams not throwing Hail Marys. Do you know about Tim Boyle's stats in college? He's the new Jets quarterback.
I don't. I know they're pretty bad.
They're insane.
Yeah.
As insanely bad.
Yeah. I know I've seen a couple of people go, Tim Boyle has no
business being
no business being in the NFL.
So he played at UConn against American Conference competition, right? He played for 3 years, a grand total of 1,200 yards in 3 years, which is like, I don't know, an average stretch for Bo Nix over 3 weeks or something like that. Okay.
Nix.
And his touchdown to interception ratio was 13-1. Oh, wait. It was 1-13.
Oh my gosh.
One touchdown in his college career, 13 interceptions, and he is somehow playing NFL football for a New York team.
Don't worry, he transferred to EKU. And in his 5th year, he had an 11-13 ratio. That year at EKU, he threw 11 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. So he finished his career with 12 touchdowns and 26 interceptions in his college
in the
career.
pros, he's got 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions so far, or 3.
Goes
so
right
he's
along.
improving.
Which is typically what you do in the NFL.
The next level, you get better.
You get better. You get more accurate.
He's got to be just a huge dude with a big arm, I imagine. They just got there on measurements. But don't ever quit trying. And that includes maybe you and me, Jason. We might have shots at the NFL.
Man. Yeah. I mean, is Aaron Rodgers single-handedly keeping this guy in the league? I mean, he played for 3 years with Rodgers in Green Bay as the backup quarterback. And now he brings him into the Jets. So, I mean, good for him.
Great for him.
Good for him. Great work if you can get it. Getting that game day check each and every day. So there you go. Yeah, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions this year. He has 4 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in his NFL career.
Wow.
So he is pretty much, he's consistent is what he's doing. It's almost a 1-3 touchdown interception ratio. Dylan, what'd you learn?
Mine's quick. I learned that the Salina 52 truck stop, it's a Salina, Tennessee truck stop parody account. They're trying to get truckers to stop leaving their waste jugs on the premises, so they've created a mascot that's the Waste Jug Man. It's actually a name that rhymes with Miss Jug Man. Oh, yeah. But yes, that is the actual name of the new mascot, encouraging truckers to clean up their waste jugs.
I see.
So that was funny to learn that actually exists on the internet.
Yeah, funny to learn that it actually exists and where you're just, in a jug. Makes sense. I mean, you're not going to, you don't want to stop many times. Funniest, we start with Mick.
I got a couple here. Virginia Tech beat Virginia 55-17 at Virginia. So after the game, the Virginia Tech coaches got the players back out on the field to take pictures and everything. That's when Virginia turned on the sprinklers. Just doused them.
I did not see that.
Well done. That's just funny. It just nobody's heard that. Just
brilliant
rivalry stuff. And this could have been standalone funny, but okay. Thursday, Dolly Parton performs at halftime
Dallas
of the Cowboys game. Barstool Mizzou tweets, "Ain't no way Dolly's 77. Fellas, how many beers?"
Oh, my God.
One guy writes, "As many as she needs to drink to say yes." That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was an interesting halftime performance day with in Detroit, Jack Harlow starting it off and just being crushed with his halftime show.
I didn't
there
see it,
in
but
Detroit.
I saw the crushing.
Oh, crushed.
Is it people? Was he bad, or is it just people that don't know what he is, how he?
I think there were a lot of people that didn't know who he was.
The set was terrible,
and I think the budget was like $10. Like it was just him. It was him, and that was really it. But another guy walks out at the beginning, just like bobbing his head behind him.
Saw that, and then he just disappears.
And then he's just gone. And then Jack Harlow like walks down the stairs and walks to another stage or whatever, and that guy's just gone. And then it's just like the camera's on Jack Harlow. It cut away for like one time when the Lions cheerleaders ran out, but that was it.
Well,
then it was just like following Jack Harlow the whole time, like no backup dancers, nothing. It was just like no like light show or anything. It's just
So
him
it was
there.
worse than White Men Can't Jump too?
I don't know. I saw the halftime show. What was the funniest for you, Dylan? Besides maybe that I hope I didn't steal somebody's funniest. Could have. What was yours, Dylan?
So my funniest, you didn't steal it, actually. My funniest came on Black Friday. The butt fumble has officially been replaced as the most Jets play in Jets history, in my opinion, as the funniest halftime Hail Mary attempt.
That was awesome.
In NFL history.
Tim Boyle, baby.
Occurred.
He didn't even
I just
get
didn't
it to
even
the
think
end
it was.
zone.
I did not think it was possible, but Kirk Herbstreit nailed it. I mean, all the skill players were in the end zone. So
Yeah.
once he got past that, it's just linemen and one running back.
And I know that most of the Hail Marys take place at the end of games, but I'm surprised there aren't more pick six off Hail Marys at halftime.
It's 100 yards. All you got to do is just get a lineman just steering it towards the sideline or something like that. But that's what coaches think. They're petrified of him now. The mini Hail Mary for Alabama at the end of the Iron Bowl was the worst defense I've ever seen. They rushed 3, which is fine. I get it. But the 3 rushers just kind of stand there and dance. They're not trying to get to the quarterback. They just want to keep him in the pocket. He could have spent another minute back there. Somebody's going to get open 30 yards downfield.
Do you think
DBs can't cover for 15 seconds.
Do you think he was going to run for a 30-yard touchdown?
Let him run.
I mean, it's unreal. The Tua interception actually put points on the board for the Dolphins because there was 2 seconds left at midfield when Tua threw the interception with 2 seconds left, and then the Hail Mary resulted in a touchdown for the Dolphins. At that point, I'm like, oh, the Jets aren't winning this. Oddly enough, even after Tua threw the pick six to make it 10-6 because they missed the extra point. Freaking Jets, man.
I've never seen The Boys, but there's always that meme of that guy being clapped around and he's smiling because he doesn't know why everyone's praising him. That was kind of Tua's actual face when they cut to him before the half, too.
That's right. I love that. Yes, I enjoy the TV show The Boys. My funniest, a couple. I didn't know that Kyle McCord for Ohio State had a nickname. I don't know if you knew this or not. Marvin Harrison is called Maserati Marv, right? Maserati Marv!
It's a good one.
They call their quarterback Kyle Accord because he's generic.
That's pretty good.
Accord. I mean, Kyle Accord
and he just
Maserati
hopefully
Marv.
just owns it.
Just like I saw that Nick. It was all over Twitter.
And he's not very good?
He's not as good as people were hoping he would be. But then also throwing
you're
the
starting at
Ohio State.
So
yes.
You've achieved some stuff in your athletic career.
Maserati Marv and Kyle Accord. the duo there in Ohio State. And my daughter's, she's 4 years old. She's very direct. Okay, she will tell you exactly what she's thinking. Sometimes rude, I don't know, but she's 4. She doesn't know any better. Like I'll just be like, we'll be watching TV. I'll just be like rubbing her back and she'll like, Daddy, stop. Okay, my bad. Sorry. So my uncle has a lazy eye. So everybody's over on Friday and hanging out, and she's sitting next to my uncle.
Oh, yeah.
And she looked over and she said, "Why do you have one eye closed?" And he said, "Slide on over here. I'll tell you the story. Come on over here. It's story time." So yeah, that was pretty good because she'll just say whatever's on her mind. Pretty good. Why do you have one eye closed? Well, it's a family thing. The best for you, Dylan?
The best for me was this picture I found of 2 fans at the Iowa-Nebraska game. A lot of special teams and punting going on. I'm sorry, Mick. There's 2 guys with shirts that look like they'd iron them on themselves that just say punts as well.
You see those?
I haven't seen it. I need to
so
check
they
it
don't
out.
they don't have like Iowa colors on or Nebraska colors on. They're gray shirts with black lettering, punts. And after every punt, whether it was Taylor for Iowa or Nebraska's punter, they would cut to these guys, and they were going nuts.
Awesome.
Cheering on the punts. And it like the entire second half after every punt, we couldn't wait. And yeah, that was
my best 4 days of being with the family. It was best. It was a great weekend there and all the football. Your best, Mick, the punts?
Right. I actually shouldn't be my best. It should be like going down to Pittsburgh and having another kid win another state title and shell out another $400 or whatever for a ring.
Yeah,
they don't get smaller, by the way. You keep winning championships in a row. They don't like. Let's go smaller this year.
Is that now 7 in the Schaefer family?
It is 6.
Oh,
so 5 straight, but they both had a ring one year. They both got rings. And so for my oldest, he's a junior, so played last year, didn't play as a freshman. First year of starting, and he made some big plays in the game in it, and it's dream come true for him. So it was,
awesome.
and beat. I told you it had to beat the Catholics and then the Mormons. So beat Cape and Mount Carmel, and then Oklahoma State beat BYU.
There
so
you go.
just took down religion on Saturday.
Big weekend.
Took
for
down
you.
religion.
Big weekend for you. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and wrap up the show next. All right, that'll do it for this Victory Monday for the Chiefs, Jayhawks, Mizzou. Although I said at the beginning, Mick, that, I know that K-State didn't win against Iowa State, but they win the Big 12 last year, and they come back this year with an 8-win season that is viewed as sort of disappointing. Yeah. That could have been
another one.
Could have been an 11-win season, right? I mean, to me, there's not much shame in coming back after winning a Big 12 championship and showing that you ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
And look, the future looks bright there.
Yes.
It's right, not just at the quarterback position. There are backups all over that field that are going to be good. They're going to continue to get good football players there. But yeah, it just bounces that way sometimes.
KU dominating to get their 8th win and Missouri dominating to get their 10th win. Just an unbelievable
Sign me up.
football season.
Good job security when everybody's good.
Yep, and there's no more Big 12 games, right?
Championship game.
What?
Oh, with the SEC. Well, we're playing an SEC team.
That's
yeah.